Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to week number 2 of UPL here in the Rogue Division. And it's two rosters that suffered in week number 1, both suffering losses, and they're going to try to redeem themselves. Fractured Memories and Lucent going up in this one best of 1 series. My partner in crime, Mr. Jay-Z, and of course, Hyper in the booth.
Well, Chief, I am glad to be here, kicking things off in week 2 with hopefully a pretty competitive matchup. I mean, you yourself casted, I believe, both of these teams last week and got to see actually how both of these teams really were not able to really put all the pieces of the puzzle together. But now both sitting at 0-1, looking to start off week 2 with a win. Of course, one of these teams is not going to have no wins on their record by the end of the night. Somebody has got to work their way up the Rogue Conference standings, where teams like Aerial Arise, Team Boosted, and Team Only Your Squad something like that sits as well. So they're definitely trying to make a name for themselves here and starting things off in week 2. Hopefully, this will be a nice competitive matchup.
Yeah, so I actually only casted the Fractured Memories against Trust Only Your Squad. That name's so hard. My 3 brain cells sometimes struggle to say anything past 2 words, so it happens to the best of us. Yeah, we just call them toys. They don't like that, though, but, sometimes as casters has to make things up as we go. But going back to that series, Fractured Memories and Toys, that was an awkward series for both those rosters. They're making plenty of mistakes, and hopefully they took my advice and went back to the drawing board and started to learn from their mistakes and apply that here in week 2. Now, Fractured Memories, as well as their opponents, Lucent, did play on Oregon in week number 1. So we're going to find ourselves in a situation where you immediately ban the map that you played in the previous week so the other team can't have active real-world VODs on you that are fresh in their minds. Or are you going to try to, again, learn from those mistakes and reverse engineer and apply it here in week 2?
Well, I guess the only way to find out is take a look at our map bans and actually see where these teams are going to end up tonight. Of course, it's a best of 1, so they ban on down to just that single map, and I think it's a good point. Maybe you don't want to go to Oregon because you see both of these teams. They both played Oregon, they both lost on the map, and clearly neither one feeling all that confident on this map. But I guess if you flip things around, if you're, one of the teams or the other, you can say, hey, the other team's clearly not confident. Maybe we can strat in this week off and really bring it back and hopefully start week 2 off with a bang. We're not going to see Cafe and we're not going to see Coastline. Unfortunate that the frag fest of a map is not going to really find itself here in week 2. Consulate, not there as well. So we're really not going to see any of those more unique maps. It may end up coming down to something more in that possibly Oregon way. It looks like we're actually getting down to that point. Theme Park is still on the board, though, Chief.
I'm getting scared, Jay-Z. Villa's gone. Theme Park has to be bad. We're going to Oregon. 2 weeks in a row for these. Oh, nope, there it is. Nope. I'm hiding. T3 teams and they're Oregon. Man, do they love this map. And almost to a fault. If you play a map so often, you have literally every single strat you have on the market and ready to be grabbed by support staff. Now, sure, it's been a while since I've been, anywhere near a coaching staff as a player or anything like that, but at all my previous teams, I would eat this up. It's just free information. Like, if you have a competent analyst, they're just going to be, eating it up just the whole time. So we're going to have to see if both these rosters did their homework. So on the side of Fractured Memory, since I know them a little better, you have Spud and Zenith. 2 competent coaches going against, their opponents. They have Lucent. Hopefully they also have good support staff because just judging by this ban, it seems like Fractured Memory should have the upper hand.
Yeah, on the side of Lucent, you also got some pretty big name players, of course, not super familiar in the T3 community, but you've got Schnitzel, and you've got Armada. Both of these players, I'm pretty sure they had some strong weeks last week, and they'll be looking forth to hopefully another strong performance here against Fractured Memories on Oregon. And of course, it's the ban phase on Oregon, and usually we know exactly what to expect here. The Thatcher rarely gets a chance to shine, and that is exactly what is happening once again. Probably going to see something in the way of a Kaid as well, maybe more in the way of a Valkyrie ban on the side of defense, but attack, that one can really be left up to chance. Maybe a Jackal, maybe an Ace, maybe something like a Maverick. It really depends how you're feeling on a particular day, and it does appear that the Maverick will not have its spot in the light here on Oregon week 2.
Now, the other day, we casted a game where Maverick was actually available. It was on Clubhouse. That was one of the most refreshing games to watch. It gave the attackers so much versatility, and the defense had to get creative with ways of, denying entry into their bomb site and wasting time. That might be a lesson that should be applied to other maps, particularly here in Oregon. You predicted the Cade ban, and now it's most likely going to be a mirror, just judging by how traditional this ban wave is. We can get creative, though. You can take out some of that Southeast Asia type flair and spice, maybe bringing out the Clash as one of your bans, or you yourself can play her, but no, part of that utility consumption simulator. Even though we're in a different meta, Wamai has now found himself relegated to the ban phase.
Yeah, the Wamai being taken off does really shake up at least the old meta that we saw before the Neon Dawn season has now come to light. And it always was a good band to see back in the utility consumption simulator meta that you just mentioned, Chief. And it still is a refreshing band to see because it really does show that these attacking teams are going to go all out into this new style of attack where you don't have to really wait as long before you get your execute going. The 20-second meta that drained the energy of casters, spectators, and observers alike is slowly falling by the wayside. Still has its spot in the light, don't get me wrong, but with the changes to Wamai and to Jaeger, and now with Wamai off the table on Oregon, we're likely going to see probably a little bit more expeditious attacks. You don't have to spend as much time clearing all that utility or dealing with power positions that deployable shields or Vulcan shields that the Goyo is bringing allow you to undertake. And with that change, maybe that is going to be the rhythm of the night. Maybe Fractured, starting on their first half, could kick things off with some early aggression, bringing the 0 that Hawks is undertaking as well. That could show the interest in going for something aggressive, but really it accomplishes the goal of information gain. Similar to a Valkyrie on defense, the 0 can provide that attacking role. Plus, you can actually utilize it in flank watch, which can be particularly effective if you don't want to bring the Nomad and you want to bring 0 instead.
I'm so glad you started to highlight the flank watch because that was one of the areas that Fractured Memories was suffering on. It's also how they're utilizing their drone economy, trying to find those roamers. One drone will be lost to a Mozzie Pass. Now, actually rather not nice, just shoot that drone actively with his weapon and then place his Mozzie Pass throughout the map so you can have more denial and directly counter Fractured Memories as they try to send their drones down range and lock him on down. Part of the macro strategy, though, for the defense is making a bunch of rotation holes throughout the map to allow Not Nice to move very fluidity. So, already seems like there's been some VOD review out of the defense day against their opponents of Fractured Memories. We're gonna have to see how that continues to transpire.
Yeah, you've got Gingy playing that extended attic roam and Not Nice. Just like you said, capitalizing on the roam and finding the opening pick on to the Ash. That's Super, I believe, is who's been cut on down, and he's actually going to get another. Not Nice. Okay, that's 2 kills now, taking down Fend here, and that is going to be a pretty catastrophic loss for this Fractured Memories attack. It's a 3v5, and you've lost Ash. That is a ton of breaching round utility that you could be using, and you've lost Thermite, your ability to open up any hard walls. Of course, the secondary hard breach can opener gadget that Hawks is bringing to the table here could provide a little bit of that utility that the Thermite has now lost. But with that expended, what you see right now is as open as the site is going to get.
It seems like a mirror image of week number 1. The same mistakes that Fractured Memories were making back then are starting to be made once again. But with Not Nice now being felled, the off-site pressure has been dealt with. It's a step in the right direction for Fractured Memories until Vim loses his face to an SMG-11. And that push that they were working so hard to achieve has now slipped away through their fingers once again this round. It's going to rely on the secondary entry as well as the Flex Operator to save the day for Fractured Memories. They're just baiting and hoping that members of the defense will try peek straight into their crosshairs, but nobody is going to do that as of yet. It's going to prompt Hawks to get very aggressive, pushing his way through the logic, not looking the right way, and everybody tacks onto the board all of a sudden. Fractured Memories making mistakes find themselves the losers of round 1.
Oh, for the most part, it was a good defensive round from Lucent. They played it passively on site, at least the anchors did, after the Rome was working out so well, and with the time on their side, when it came down to the eventual push onto the bomb site itself, it didn't really seem to matter. They shut down those attackers at every turn. But you mentioned it, Chief. The big mistakes on those rounds for Fractured Memories, the clear on the top floor, or rather, lack thereof, was the detriment of the round. They lost 2 players simply because Not Nice was clicking heads on the Rome. You cannot allow, especially on a map like Oregon, you cannot allow any players to get multiple frags on a Rome, and frags that were never answered back until very late in the game. It is an easy map to get under your control with a couple of pre-placed drones and a couple of coordinated pushes on that Rome clear, but at least in round number 1, the roam play of Not Nice was too much for Fractured to handle. It's going to be up to round number 2 and what can really change here. And of course, this top floor site is a little bit harder to get an effective roam. No surprise that we are going to see Not Nice actually go from the Mozzie to the Goyo, bringing a more utility and anchor-focused operator, leaving the roaming possibly to someone like Armada or Schnitzel.
The thing with Fractured Memories in our previous week, it's too early to truly draw parallels. However, it's starting to get scary already. Super was the first casualty on attack. He actually went 0-6 on attack in week number 1. Simply because they're really not utilizing him effectively. They task him with walk down range, go find the roamers, and win your gunfights. And a lot of people think Ash's job is to, well, win gunfights. No, it's really not. Her job is to get map control. And if that means she has to take in gunfights, well, she has to coordinate with her team that says, hey, my job is to take the top side of dorms. How do I achieve that? Well, that's going to be on, my primary droner to send information downrange, put those drones into the universe to actively grab where Not Nice is playing. But it's just more than that. You also have to have the ability to follow up those drones, and as soon as the primary droner says, hey, there's pressure over in dorms, it needs to be an instantaneous swing by Super. If he doesn't make it instantaneous, information that the primary droner works so hard to achieve has been lost.
Well, in terms of flashbangs, that much of utility has been lost now as Fend is going to throw all of them into games. The C4 raining on through, and it's going to cut down the thermite just after Armada was taken down. Gingy, the aggressive push, is going to net Hawks, and Shadow, with a quick response, though, will keep things even in a 3v3. Bit of a back-and-forth skirmish there in games on the Closet Breach, but nobody really proving the victor. It's Armada who really changes up the pace of the round by cutting down Super. That's going to put Vim and Shadow in a 2v3. Vim isolated here in the closet. He's got to go pick up this diffuser, but without Shadow nearby to support him, it's going to be a tough push into this site. He's going to have to play this patient, or at least wait for the Zofia to get in position. The nade in his hand, he's not going to be able to get the free kill that Gingy nearly allowed, and now the mute is going to remain stalwart close on that trophy to game's door. Shadow finally rotating around now to support the Sledge and Closet, will attempt to establish this crossfire in trophy. Unfortunately for them, the toxic babes are still aplenty, and the lines of sight are being held very fast by these two SAS brethren. Vim getting aggressive here in games. He's going to get 1. He's going to get 2. That's a double kill for him, and now he's going for that plant. Stewart going now for the defuse, or rather for the toxic babe. He's going to find 1. Oh my goodness! He's going to line up them both. And the clutch from Lucent, Fractured Memories. Oh my god, that was a free round there at the end, but it just didn't seem to matter.
Having casted Vim in multiple leagues on a couple different rosters, that was an incredibly flashy play, but something that I've become so used to seeing. Whenever he is needed, he will win his gunfights, time and time again. However, it's really on the structure of Fractured Memories to push together as a team. They need to swing more actively as a roster, and also they need to understand what the crossfires are and where that pressure is coming from. The likelihood of the remaining member being over in the south side of Attic, known as Pit, or in kids' dorms, is extremely high. So that's going to put Zofia in a position, where do I hold the crossfire from? 90% of the time, I would look towards the door frame of South Attic, simply because most of the players are going to be utilizing that as a primary highway, and also there are 2 entry points. If they actually are playing in Attic, well, they're going to have to put in that door frame, and if they're playing in kids' dorms, they have the option of that door as well as the other door, which means there's a higher likelihood of the door where you can see Armada's icon is to be swung. So when you're Zofia, you play that angle and you wait for that swing to happen. If it happens, which in the case it did, you shut down that toxic babe, or at minimum, you do some damage. That coordination was never made because Zofia was playing a passive angle. You have to be playing that a little bit more active. And that seems to be kind of the bane of Fractured Memories. They don't want to play particularly aggressive, and if the defensive roster plays aggressive against them, they almost crumble.
I will say I like where their head is at for the most part. I mean, as Shadow, you generally want to be thinking, okay, it's a post plant, I've got to play passively. But unfortunately for Fractured Memories, it never quite got to the post plant situation. With the Thermite face down for 7 seconds, you are obligated to hold a more active angle in order to prevent your teammate from really getting felled for relatively free. I mean, the Toxic Babe, of course, the smoke canister utilized beautifully, really helped that effort, and Shadow looking to really respond to a couple of those micro positioning mistakes by getting a kill early on. Fend is also going to get one, cutting down Schnitzel, and that is now going to be Fractured Memories for the first time. They're going to have a 2-man advantage on this tertiary bomb site attack.
I was critical that Fractured Memories weren't establishing crossfires, they weren't pushing together as a team. They finally make that adaptation here in round 3, and it seems like the flight drone over by the White Stair is dictating that free fire that went towards the opposite direction, but that might have just been a random shot that almost caught him on out. Armada will give himself away, and now he has to retreat. Fractured Memories with control of the top floor, they're going to start to utilize vertical pressure. All of those sledgehammers, if they brought, which they didn't in this round, so it's going to be on those flat place breaching charges in the back pocket of Super as well as Vim. To start to remove that ceiling and push the defense into a position where they're not comfortable. Now with the vertical destruction all the way on that A bomb site, that means they're primed for attack of both sides. They can go comfortably from the tower side, but judging by where their utility is, it's going to be a kitchen execute.
A kitchen execute is hard to do well, especially because there isn't a lot of fraction you can easily get just by opening this soft wall here, but that's why we're seeing the vertical play be so prominent from this attack. They've got every bit of kitchen under their watchful eye, not to mention security as well. The entire ceiling of the site, soft destruction is a option, and with that, those lines of sights are going to be held. The rotations are going to be held, not allowing any defender to swing on in to deny the plant. Armada and Gower both are going to be looking to deny it, but Shadow and Vim are going to cut them down in response. The C4 is going to come out, nearly hitting Shadow in the face. Actually, it will, but Shadow not going to make much of that. It's going to be a flawless round for Fractured Memories, as Shadow will just take down Armada, who is going to be lying prone in the middle of the hallway.
He got...
Wow, now that is someone I'd like to link up with. Step into a world where being your true self is your glow up. I mean, you gotta be you to find your whomever, right? Put yourself out there. Join Tinder today.
All you got to do is dish a drink, and your taste buds.
Sounds like happiness.
So many feels.
All the feels.
You do the shimmy when it meets expectations, and the head nod is I'm perfectly satisfied.
Sonic Ultimate Drink Stop.
The lasting cologne scent of Old Spice Dynasty helps get you off your couch and into the driver's seat.
Boinked in the forehead by a nitro cell. You hate to see it. Just spam your mouse wheel fast enough, and I guess maybe you'll be successful with that. Or G, depending on what you use. But a good showing by the attackers. This was the first attacking round where I've really seen everybody from Fractured Memories put their heads together as a collective unit. No longer just a 5-man team, but just one mind. They did everything perfect. So we know that they're capable of doing that. Now they're going to have to apply that exact type of attack, that structure, that synergy and communication and coordination, all the adjectives you want to use. Now they have to put it down range in a bomb site that's going to be a little bit more difficult. Instead of just clearing dorms like they did and then going to execute on the first floor, they're going to have to do that on the second floor, repeat it on the first floor, and then apply it to the basement once again. They have to be very conscious of the time, because if they spend too much time focused on one floor that isn't anywhere near their bomb site, that's going to start to snowball, and they're going to have to start to make time up elsewhere, which is almost impossible in Rainbow Six.
Well, we're heading back to the basement bomb site now after the unsuccessful meeting and kitchen defense from Lucent. They'll be looking to find their success on this bomb site just like they did just a few rounds ago. That success was largely found by brilliant roam from Not Nice, who will be undertaking the role of the Mozzie once again and utilizing those Mozzie pests to shut down any information that Fractured are going to be looking to obtain. Of course, Hawks on the Zero should be able to circumvent those Mozzie pests if they are properly placed zero cams at the very least. So this time, Fractured Memories should be able to get some sort of roam clear going, at least easier. Now that they know what Not Nice is likely up to, they've seen it before, it's up to them to make a change. They have to adapt slightly, and Super on a solo roam clear push, despite the hot drone, going to get cut down, brutally so. And once again, Fractured Memories struggling in their roam clear and their early footing. Super is again the first player to be lost from this attack.
An awkward set of circumstances that can put Fractured Memories at a man disadvantage. Not Nice is still running around throughout the map, trying to be a big nuisance as possible. He spots one in green. He'll be successful at that. The pre-made holes might collect with another. He gets the head, but unable to line it up. Vim saves the day for his team, and now they're only at a -1 man disadvantage. Findy is stucking a little bit, missing a few of those bullets on the Mozzie Pest, but no big deal there. He's now dealt with that utility and Fractured Memories. They're going to have to start to fight with their man disadvantage and decide whether or not they want to open up the E-box hatch, potentially the laundry hatch, or how they're going to establish a crossfire into the basement.
Well, Gingy is going to shut down that rotate hole and solidify the J bunker push, and now it's going to be the anchor festivities, the turtle festivities, now the focus of this defense. Repositioning that deployable shield is a very smart decision. That kind of high IQ play may very well lend them to further success in this round. They've got multiple deployable shields, including Vulcan shields, now facing this pillar push that is now getting underway, as Shadow, clearing one of those deployable shields out, will be looking to make this push easier. The X-Kairos pellets will go on down, so will the frag grenade and the shots from Shadow and Fendosaurus. That's going to leave the smoke again, left alone in a 1v3. The lining up one with the SMG-11. That's going to be okay, making things easier, and the Toxic Babes will assist, but only one toxic canister remains, and the plant is now going down elsewhere in supply room. Vim knows the smoke is nearby, nearly catches the head, but is going to opt to play it more passively. Actually, the Toxic Babe is going to pick up the kill on a Fendosaurus, so all of a sudden it's a 1v1, but it is a post plant, and the smoke is the one who has to get aggressive here. That's Gower looking to make this push happen. He's got to get aggressive, but he's got 30 seconds to do it. It's going to be a 50-50 gunfight here, but Vim is already holding that long angle. It's going to be a back-and-forth battle, but Ewer needs to make this happen. The time is simply running out, but he's proven he can do this before, but the pre-fire is there from Vim, and the shots will connect, giving Fractured Memories round number 4 in a successful basement attack.
Both these rounds, or both these teams, made mistakes throughout the round. It started off with Fractured Memories, again, struggling on dealing with the offsite pressure. We're going to start to sound like a broken record, but you, in good faith, as an IGL, cannot send a primary entry into a 1v1 gunfight on a roam clear. You have to send 2 operators there and set up at minimum a 90-degree crossfire and 180-degree crossfire. So we're just going to push that one away, and hopefully the coaching staff of Fractured Memories, Zenith and Spud, start to make that realization and apply it to their roster in a different week. Because again, this seems to be a systemic problem for them. But also, I have to be critical of the defense. Lucent was over-peaking. They did so many things well on that roam clear. And then all of a sudden, when they had a huge man advantage, they decided to start swinging. They wanted to take gunfights and started to pad the stats. They had utility. They needed to send that downrange first. Use your swings, your aggressive plays as almost a last resort where you don't really have any other options. And that was the problem. Lucent still had other options and still could have utilized those contingency plans.
I saw their minds at work there. I could see that they made quite a coordinated effort to swing out onto pillar, but that really, like you said, Chief, it isn't necessary at all. You have ample time to work with. You're the defense. You can sit there and let the time, slowly tick its way off the clock, and you were holding some pretty solid angles. The player in freezer, on the freezer door, that was a big one. That was a extremely strong power position that could be held to really shut down any supply room push. The freezer door has an angle onto the default plant spot, which unless the freezer player is dealt with, you're never able to get the plant down. But unfortunately, some good nades on the side of Fractured Memories and several ill-timed and ill-advised swings from Lucent really just sacrificed the site control rather abruptly. That is going to give Fractured Memories the round. Honestly, a good attack, starting with a mixed roam clear, but eventually they got the trade, and eventually the site pressure was too much for Lucent to counter. But it's going to be another defense for Lucent now, looking to correct some of those mistakes, but heading upstairs to this Kids and Dorms bomb site to do so.
The attackers have not accomplished a lot from their checklist. They're still trying to open up North Attic. Shadow's going to jiggle peek his way into almost a headshot, but unfortunately the man of the hour, Vim, is fault. Shadow on a one tap. He will be successful. And there goes Not Nice, the roaming legend himself, buried on the bomb site 6 feet under now. So here's a macro strategy for Fractured Memories. They're going to utilize these zeros to send the cameras through the wall. He's going to tase the drone or whatever's on their side, which will be a mute jammer, and then try to open it up. It's a good idea on paper. However, if he had a set of frag grenades that might be more powerful, you rotate Super on over, he sends his Ash reaching large basically on that solid wall, and then it gets opened up. You can still run your strategy. However, Fractured Memories really not understanding the mini-game aspect. They know what they want to accomplish, but they're not creating the strategy to break that mini-game.
Yeah, without splitting up Super and Shadow here, you're really not allowing yourself to find much hope on the attic side. Hawk's not able to open up the attic wall. It's not going to matter, at least in terms of the frag game. He's going to cut down another, and Super also capitalizing on another swing from Schnitzel. It's going to be a 2v3. Gingy and Gewer, all that remains, the smoke and the mute. They both have the weapons to do this, and apparently Gingy has the reaction time, but so does Hawks. He's going to play the trade brilliantly and secure the double kill, and we're going to have to see another clutch from this smoke. The Toxic Babe is going to catch out Shadow. He's going to have to fall back, and actually Hawks is now caught out. No, Shadow doesn't fall back. He goes straight on into Kids, and he delivers the round for Fractured Memories. A good split-second decision that definitely caught me off guard, as well as the smoke there, and giving the round of Fractured Memories, and now giving them the round advantage here.
A good round from Fractured Memories. They're swinging together. I was still critical of how they're participating in mini games, but that's something that they can kind of learn through osmosis as they get to be a little bit more familiar with themselves. They are a relatively new roster. They've been around for, I believe this is their second week, maybe not even 2 weeks, might be like 10 days. So you can see the growing pains, but they've started to put splints on their legs, and they're starting to learn to walk. They're winning their ones, and they're going to have to now apply that once again downstairs to the basement. It's going to be also on their opponents of Lucent to maybe continue with this roaming pressure and really start to abuse Fractured Memories solo pushes. That's an option where you can put Not Nice with a Frint. Maybe you give him Armada, an operator like Malusi that doesn't have all the utility in the world. It's a set it and forget it type utility. Put her wub-wubs throughout the map, and you say, all right, have fun, go roam somewhere else. That's one of the big problems with Malusi. And something that's been curious for the defense.
It's not just a game when every move feels like a power play. It's opened my eyes to a whole new world. It's where I find myself and get lost in the game.
Are you looking for a new way to make up to $700 this month and help save lives? Donate plasma and make up to $700 this month at CSL Plasma.
Aficionado.
Sneakerhead.
Gearhead.
Obsession has many names. This is ours, the new Lexus IS. All in on the sports sedan. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer.
As well. They've decided to play into J Bunker every single round. most teams are electing to reinforce the southmost wall, and then when a push happens or they get flashed out, they end up they rotate, they open up the northmost wall. However, their opponent's Lucent has decided not to do that. They always are opening up the south wall. This is a high-risk strategy simply because if the attackers push the tunnel, they have a better angle at shooting you when you start to put that reinforcement.
Well, something you brought up, Chief, that I do want to talk about a little bit more is the presence of the Melusi on the roam. It's a pretty staple roaming operator because just like you said, you really can just put those wubs down and then get the heck out of Dodge. But the change we've seen, we're only a few days really off this new patch, which removed the angled grip from the MP5 on Melusi and replaced it with just a vertical one. That will, of course, only change things very slightly, but players will start to notice that roaming with Melusi and going for crazy aggressive swings and big plays, it's going to be less successful, just in the grand scheme of things, given that you can't be as quick to get your gun up in these engagements. The first of which is going to come right now is Not Nice, is going to work his magic on the roam, this time cutting down the hard breacher, taking down Hibana. That is a huge pick. Again, Not Nice, somehow this same strategy, again and again, is continuing to pay off for this Mozzie player. This time, he's going to make the extra step of rotating straight back to site to not provide Fractured Memories with the opportunity to trade out the frag. So now this attacking team is going to have to go about the rest of their pillar side execute without those X-Kairos pellets in play.
In week number 1, Fractured Memories did not want to bring out the Hibana. They ran the Nomad. They wanted to run this exact same lineup, favoring the Zero. However, it left their flanks open, and they got punished for it. Here in week 2, the parallels could continue to be made, struggling to watch the flanks. It's absurd that there isn't even a flank drone. And if you don't want to relegate your drone into that position, that's more than fine. You send a Hawk with his Zero cameras, you put them on stairwells, and they will provide you information. They only provide you a different level of information because you have guaranteed information. If it gets shot, everybody's going to be dry peeking into the pillar. Shadow was far too aggressive. He did bury himself, but Vim is going to rectify that just slightly as he's now the only one left. Everybody is falling for Fractured Memories. Actually, Super is still alive, stuck over on the bunker side, forced to go prone, getting Toxic Babes thrown at him. He's in an awkward position. He could still be successful, but the likelihood of that is very low. It's a perfect opportunity to go for a technical timeout, just rotate away and start to prepare for your defense, but he wants to get the kills, and the shotgun will kill him instead.
Great job there from Lucent to correct some of their previous round mistakes, being a lot of unnecessary swings and possibly trading out a roamer when they could have rotated back to site. That was the first difference that we saw, and the most obvious difference was Not Nice not only getting the early frag and a tremendously impactful frag at that, but rotating immediately down main stairs back to Laundry, closing the door behind him. A good decision that really allowed him to get more frags on the bomb site. The tower push, really without the gun up, there was no chance for the push down tower stairs to be successful initially. Of course, you had Vim, who found the quick response, but at that point, the man count was simply too low and the pressure too divided. It's good to have split pressure on a bomb site. It's good to get your crossfires and establish your presence from elsewhere, but once the man count really gets down to a 2 or 3 only left, especially on the attacking side, you really have to cut your losses at that point. Regroup, move as a pack, or at least as 2 and a 1 kind of force as you're pushing on into the site. Otherwise, well, the outcome is going to be just the same as we saw in round number 6. But for the most part, this has been a back and forth battle on Oregon so far. 3-3, you've got your 50-50 split, and now you're heading over to Fractured Memories on defense. To make things even more interesting, they're going to be starting off on this less seen tertiary bomb site.
The last time we were here in week number 1, I wanted to rip my hair out simply because both Toys and Fractured Memories brought out the quaternary bomb site of Dining Room. Neither one of those rosters decided that they wanted to bring out impact grenades, which is what makes Dining Room so strong. You want to burn away that attacking utility. Fractured Memories have obviously decided, our macro strategy for dorms, or for the Dining Room site, isn't as strong as it probably should be. We need to go back to the drawing board, and the drawing board has determined that the tertiary bomb site is going to be a little bit more of their cup of tea, and they've now created a brand new strategy. We're also talking about ways of denying information to support staff, making sure they don't have any VODs to review. Bringing out new bomb sites is a great way of doing it. Super in T1? I have no idea why he's playing there. Far too aggressive. He lost his life for it. A silly mistake, but his teammate's going to get the refrag with a shotgun.
Well, the swing with the M590 at that range, you're never going to lose that gunfight, really, unless there are 3 attackers staring right at the door, but nobody expects that kind of aggression early on from the defense. Hawks was hoping that he was misdrone, but in fact he was not, and not nice. Will send the smoke off to his 6-foot grave and make this now an attacking advantage position in a 4v3. It's definitely going to be a lot of meeting room pressure here. Kitchen is pretty much being ignored, except from the Ash, who's going to drop straight on in. The Wub Wub revealing his position, and the shots from Shadow, cutting him down finally. It's going to be returned now to a 3v3 with only this attic and tower side pressure remaining. Fendosaurus is playing below, hoping to get some sort of flank. Shadow looking down towards the green hall there, facing tower, and now it's going to be up to how quickly Lucent can actually get the pressure going onto meeting room. They've got a ton of time, and I mean ample time to work with here. They still have a minute to go, and cutting down Vim is going to make this attack even easier going forward. Fendosaurus, though, he's on the flank. He's going to line up one. Gingy, though, found one in the meantime. Gingy secures the double kill to give Lucent their first attacking round.
That was starting to look scary there with Fendosaurus in the retake of the upstairs, but he did end up unable to connect with all 3 players. An impossible situation made just that much more attainable. The tertiary bomb site not working out for Fractured Memories. I like the adaptation. I like how they're starting to mix things up. That shows that they're starting to learn from their mistakes, but they're going to be bringing out one of their primary bomb sites downstairs in the basement. With a Frost being shown, there's a high likelihood that she might be 6-picked away from. However, if you want to bring out a deployable shield, she is one of the best operators for that. However, Smoke seems to be a little bit more traditional. Mira, on the other hand, is an operator that receives a lot of love and hate simultaneously. Being an operator that is constantly instantaneously removed in the ban phase, but she does deny a lot of area very passively. You put one of her mirrors facing a certain direction, and the threat of it alone will change up how the attackers want to execute. For example, if you put a mirror window facing towards the south side of Laundry, the attackers are likely to never push that, because if there's somebody lurking behind a mirror window, you're going to get slammed. If you put a mirror window facing the west side of the map over by Freezer, well, again, you're going to find yourself in the exact same scenario. You're not going to push that because the likelihood of somebody swinging you is just far too high.
Well, I do want to bring up that Frost tease just once again, and Frost is one of those picks that is so controversial in competitive Siege. Not because it is and not a viable operator, but just because it's so not very common to see. With the rise of Frost in the recent weeks, I'd largely attribute, if not wholeheartedly attribute, the rise to G2, who decided in their European League finals and Pro League to really bring out the Frost at, well, more than a few occasions, actually, especially on Oregon, on the tertiary and secondary bomb site of both dining and kitchen and kids and dorms. Utilizing a Frost, especially at a high level of Siege, is always I guess you could call it an ace in the hole. It's one of those picks that just isn't really common and is therefore not expected as an attack. And so maybe in silver ranked, you're going to look down every window you jump in, worrying that there's a bear trap. But once you get up to, even gold, plat, diamond, and above, you're not going to look down when vaulting in a window. And if you do, more often than not, you're going to get punished for it. We're not going to see the Frost, but I did think it was something to mention just because we are seeing a rise of Frost in the recent weeks. And I honestly love to see that kind of variation, that kind of creativity being brought out here from the attack. Are you seeing what I'm seeing, Chief? I think Armada is getting quite aggressive. He was just inside supply room for just a moment, but he has since backed off into E-Box here. But the attackers seem to be eager to get aggressive.
They're trying to open up every possible wall. There's a ton of mute jammers from Findosaurus, but Mira, the one window she was playing over by Boiler, did not have a mute jammer on it. Oh, that's actually why Armada went for the swing. He wanted to destroy the mute.
Who's that?
A free TurboTax live tax expert.
Why do you need a tax expert?
His advice is free, and I can file for free.
Is my son still a dependent if he eats my food?
File a simple return for free, now with advice from a TurboTax live expert.
Listen. You hear that sound? Your stomach isn't growling. It's giving a standing ovation. Reese's Puffs for breakfast, baby.
Jammer, so he can have that long line of sight. He has to be careful that nobody swings on the bomb chassis. He's now going to be holding that tight angle, but if he loses a gunfight to latency, it's going to be a bad position to be in. Both teams find a casualty, so they're going to be relegated to 4 men apiece. There goes the bomb down by the primary support. Not Nice is going to find another casualty, and it's going to be on Fractured Memories. They're supposed to crash back to their bomb site. The crash happens a little bit too late, delivering us straight into a post plane. That's now a 1v3, and just like that, Fractured Memories loses their entire foothold in the basement.
Well, what we just saw there was the style of attack on basement that we kind of hinted at during the ban phase, actually. With the change in the meta, that is the kind of attack that we've actually been seeing quite recently on this bomb site. Oregon basement used to be probably the slowest attacks of most sites on most maps. Of course, Clubhouse is an exception. The basement bomb site usually takes an eternity to get going on attack, but this basement site, I used to call it, or still do really, deployable shield central. It really is. You can put 3, 4, even 5 deployable shields on your defensive lineup, bringing the Goyo adds those Vulcan shields as well, and you can just sit in these power positions using those ADSs, those Wamai magnets, locking down this basement site. But the absence of the Wamai and the changes that have been made to Jaeger really allow for a lot swifter attacks on this site. Lucent, they made very early traction on this basement site because there was very little utility that was standing in their way. And what utility there was, they efficiently removed, using those Zofia impacts from the lifeline very well and simply continuing to just apply the pressure, holding down those long angles as early as they could, and it worked out well. The flank attempt in the end just wasn't enough to bring back the round for Fractured Memories, and that's going to give Lucent the 2-round advantage. And Fractured Memories, in an effort to find their first offensive round, are going to actually head back downstairs to this basement site.
I wonder if the lack of secondary utility is also hurting Fractured Memories. They've elected to bring out 4 Nitro Cells like they did in the previous round. The Nitro Cells never found their target. They were never actually sent down range. It might be one of those options where you bring out sort of a barbed wire, maybe a bulletproof camera, or just something else to mix up how your utility is. Because a barbed wire is going to provide information. It's very much like a Melusi Wub Wub, just a little bit more quiet. You put them on a stairwell, and the attackers are either going to melee it, which is very risky because the likelihood of somebody swinging, particularly with Mira in play, is just far too high. And that's going to prompt out maybe a Zofia impact grenade, maybe an Ash grenade. That type of coordinated utility is going to be very strong. However, since Fractured Memories only has Nitro Cells, their option is to yeet it up through a hatch or towards the east side of the map. I just don't find it working, even though Findosaurus just proved me wrong.
Yeah, that Nitro Cell was, I guess, used properly. It found a frag, and while you're not going to be able to use that particular Nitro Cell in the post plant, you've got 3 more. Shadow, Super, and Hogs all have a C4 in their pocket for later, and this positioning usually enables itself to a nice little C4 toss over that bookshelf there, and, well, the shelf, and allows you to get some pretty good post planner plant denial situations. But you've got Vim. This is the strong position I was talking about earlier that denies that default plant. But I guess it won't seem to matter if Super's just going to swing and click on some heads. Both Not Nice and Armada have now been removed, and it's going to be up to Gingy, Schnitzel, and Gower to bring this one back. But Super, the audacity to be holding an active angle on E-Box, is going to surprise another player and cut down the Habana, and Vim and Shadow, a double swing and an immediate conclusion of the round for Fractured Memories. They go from a flawless round on the attacking side to a flawless round of their own.
So good on Fractured Memories. They're able to win basement in round 9, which means the basement will open up back in round 12 if we find ourselves in that position. We're almost starting to look like 12 rounds will be guaranteed, and if we hop into overtime, this is another one of those leagues where we have unlimited overtime, where you have to win 2 rounds in a row. But let's not quite go there until we've actually wrapped up round 12. And speaking of that, there seems to be a clash being shown by Super. Clash is an operator that gets played a lot downstairs in the basement, but not as frequent upstairs in dorms, simply because there's a lot of outside angles. There's a lot of windows and things that you can start to open up, setting up a crossfire on that poor Clash. And that is really Clash's bane, is when you have multiple attackers directly trying to challenge her. Something that we didn't see on the side of Fractured Memories that I would like to see out of Lucent is somebody spawning over towards the west side of the map, over by Junkyard, and just opening up big window. If at minimum allowing that to pressure the defense in some way. Now, in Fractured Memories defense, they actually did do that once. It was on the meeting room attack, where it was Shadow tasked with holding big window, but that was a little bit of a different round.
Well, one big thing that I think we both noticed, Chief, was the lack of an attic attack from Fractured Memories, at least on the first half. They struggled to successfully get in that attic wall due to a player in there holding downstairs on that meeting room door and a mute jammer. Simply, that's all that they needed on the defensive side, at least Lucent did, to shut down Fractured in their attempts to go for the attic side. But we can already tell by these spawns and by the dual hard breachers and the fact that you have both Not Nice spawning on the tower side, and you've got Armada already going below into Classroom and opening up that wall, or now taking out the mute jammer. It does seem that Lucent has their mind set on a very split attack here, getting the full checklist dealt with in order to get this attack pressure going, and the crossfire established onto game by Armada, cutting down Super. That's going to make things ever easier. Super really not happy with the way that one played out, but Fendosaurus is just going to stand in the middle of the breach. Now going to attempt a C4 toss. It's ripping it, possibly catching the player out on the drone, but outside, and with the C4 not landing on the balcony effectively, that's going to be another wasted piece of secondary utility. Fendosaurus is going to challenge a far too long angle with a shotgun not meant for the range, and that's going to cost him his life as well. Hawks looking for the response, but it appears that Armada is elusive for the time being. With this attic pressure now building, Vim, the only player now left to hold this off, at least on this pit play. The shots being exchanged, but nobody quite being felled. It's going to be 90 seconds now, all that remains on the clock, and Lucent making tremendous progress. The only thing to see going forward is how much can Vim, Hawks, and Shadow shut the remaining pressure down.
Fractured Memories wanted to play this far too aggressive. That's all stemming from Super, and it's going to cost them once again. Now 1v5 for Shadow. He isn't known yet, but he's going to find himself in a terrible position. Not Nice, and a nice spray transfer finds himself the kill. Lucent wins round 10, moving themselves to match point, and since it's the best of one, this is also series point. 1 round away from concluding week number 2 with a victory and forcing Fractured Memories to lose another week in a row.
Well, I know that's 2 flawless rounds back-to-back. I think that might be 3, even. So back and forth, and these rounds are oddly so one-sided. It's like one team either has everything clicking and the other team nothing, or completely switched around, vice versa. And you've got the other team just able to do everything and the other team making every mistake in the world. That time, it was a completely different defense that we saw on the basement bomb site. On the basement site, it was Super who held some long angles, delivered several frags, and the aggression net them the kills. This time, they tried the very same aggression, but it was utilized in more I guess, problematic positions, and specifically I have in mind the swing that Fendosaurus tried to make. He made it without any intel. There were no players in trophy, so if you knew that, there's no reason to swing the doorway, and so clearly the intel wasn't there, and if the decision-making was there, then he wouldn't have swung with the shotgun, maybe with the SMG-11 to find more range towards the player on the top of Armory Stairs. But regardless, a brilliant round from Lucent, a good attack, a very good attic pressure combined with trophy and closet pressure. That is your three-pronged approach to establish your game's crossfire, and it didn't seem that Lucent ever needed to get the bomb down. Fractured were content on simply contesting early on and not wanting to play in that post plan. So it's going to be match point. It's going to be series point, Chief. You said it perfectly. And now Fractured. They are now in a position where they not only have to make quite a big adaptation coming back from a flawless round, but they have to take 2 rounds in a row.
So I wonder if these flawless rounds are stemming from the power of the opening duel. This is an old statistic, but this is from like 2 years ago. Like I believe it was, yeah, I think it was in year 3, where you had an 80% chance of winning a round if you got the opening duel. 80%. It has gone down significantly since then, but it's still something that can rear its ugly head every so often. And this might be one of those series where just the opening duel is so powerful. It might not just be from a structure standpoint or a strategy standpoint. It might just be from a mental standpoint. If you lose one of your teammates, doesn't matter if you're in attack or defense, it's going to force you to change how you're playing. It's going to force you to make mid-round adaptations, change how you're holding door frames and crossfires. And the man who always seems to be the opening duel to really solidify that storyline super, stuck on cameras, has lost his life once again. He's just constantly finding himself in bad positions. It's going to force Shadow into another bad position, trying to fill the hole over by Zulu. Now dead. This is going to put Fractured Memories in a huge disadvantage. It's a 2v5, and we haven't even hit 90 seconds.
Yeah, things not going well at all for Fractured Memories here. It's all but over. Vim is going to try to hip fire to save his life as the stun landed on his head, but it is a flawless round for Lucent to characterize the last.
All right. Good evening, everyone. As again, I need to sit back. I'm always too close to my camera. Welcome, everyone, to the UPL Winter's Rainbow Six Siege League, whatever. I am Cherish. Joined with me is Jenna or Drafro. And the two of us have got only one game, considering how the late time of our start tonight. But it is hopefully looking to be a nice game that we are going to be getting into.
Yes, we have a pretty nice game. We got what am I even looking at here? Yeah, Dallas Vendetta and Fractured Memories. Oh my gosh, I'm all out of order. I'm all out of whack. But yeah, Dallas Vendetta versus Fractured Memories. If we were to backtrack, right, and look at the history, I believe Dallas Vendetta beat. Here we go. Dallas Vendetta beat Lucent, right? But then Lucent lost to Team Boosted, where then Lucent also won against Fractured Memories. So like if you basically work it around, if you want to look at like skills and like loop it all around, Lucent lost to Team Boosted, but they also lost to Dallas Vendetta, but then Lucid won against Fractured Memories. It's like this really weird thing. But anyways, point being is that if you were to chronologically backtrack it all the way, you would assume that Dallas Vendetta is better than Fractured Memories, not only because historically Fractured Memories doesn't have as many wins as Dallas Vendetta, but because, you know, looking back at the teams that have lost and won in the series, you could see that Dallas Vendetta has won against the teams that also won against Fractured Memories. So kind of like a higher stepping stone in a way to get onto Dallas Vendetta's skill register. But hey, I mean, there are potentially different skill registers going to be here at play, so it might not be as an easy game for Dallas Vendetta to be having themselves in tonight against Fractured Memories. And at the very same rate, you know, they could be having a really hard game on their hands. They might even be losing to Fractured Memories. We don't necessarily know how tonight's going to go, and that's the interesting part about early season games because of the fact that, you know, you're going to be seeing a lot of different team dynamics, a lot of different play here, and you don't necessarily know how these games are going to go. So I'm pretty excited to get into it. We're going to be going into Villa in just a few minutes, but do you want to talk about that? Oh, map bans. We're actually going to be going to map bans. Well, I already let it go.
Man. Well,
Yeah.
no point in map bans as you spoil it.
I'm sorry.
Well, we will be headed to Villa, like you said, as the last week's match for Dallas Vendetta against Team Boosted ended up being on Villa. They took a 5-1 defensive half lead en route to a 7-2 victory, really just making that map look clean. So for them to get it again definitely is scary, I'd say, for the side of Fractured Memories. They definitely will have to look out and be absolutely on top of their game here because, frankly, to me, to see a team so dominantly take this map and then to go ahead as your own team and say, yeah, let's go there, that definitely is quite the risk to me. So I'm interested to see what Fractured Memories has up their sleeve, as again Dallas Vendetta will be starting on the defense, so that very strong side for them. And starting things off, they are going to be pulling out the Hibana ban, which kind of is a default as of nowadays.
Yeah, it is a default. It's either going to be Habana or Ace, the ranged hard breachers, and I think, it's like one of the two on Villa, whereas Clubhouse, for example, you might be choosing Maverick, Habana, or even Ace, but on this map, it's normally one of the two, Ace or Habana, because of the map's geography, where you don't necessarily need that Maverick trick as much, because you can just go below and take out the utility if you need to. But interestingly enough, we're going to be seeing a Jaeger ban, out of all things. That's going to be really spearheading the effort for the attack now, as you see that they're not going to have to deal with those ADSs, those pesky utility denial ADSs. And now, oh man, now they're going to be able to throw in lots and lots of utility at the objective, essentially without it even being covered. But the thing is now is that they can't use Jaeger either. So in reality, it is a double-edged sword because yeah, they're not going to have to go up against those ADSs, and they'll be able to free range, throw frags everywhere, throw utility where they want it, but at the same time, when the roles are swapped, they're also going to have a lot of utility thrown at them, and, getting a taste of their own medicine might not be the best way to go about things.
So, it's interesting, too, as that IQ actually snuck its way in, I think, at the end. It did indeed. So Shadows is going to be pulling out the IQ. It is interesting that Jaeger is banned against Dallas Vendetta because surprisingly they've taken a different stance to the Jaeger nerfs or rather the Jaeger will my nerfs. And instead of running Jaeger, they've kind of just dropped the operator in favor of Wamai more often than not. They've run a lot of Wamai consistently on Villa, which is intriguing to me just because it, in general, that just kind of feels like, I don't know, if Fracture did do work on this, because I don't want to outright say they didn't do work and be ignorant and wrong about that, but it just outright feels weird the way that they've so far handled this, being willing to take them to such a strong map and then not even ban the operator that they run the most on this map. So intriguing for that, but regardless, Fractured Memories will be working at this front side push, not on the Red Stairs push, which a lot of teams try to focus on and pushing out Jaiko, who will in fact lose half of his HP in the meantime. And it's a relatively slow downstairs focus so far from the side of Fractured Memories, but they are slowly working away alongside Fenda on that buck, trying to just get as much control as possible, and so far it's working out very well for them.
It is working out very well, but when they start going up against the defenders, that's when it's really going to shine, whoever's going to be better in those one-on-one firefights. But here you see it, the Bearing 9 is going to come into play, get the headshot on Fenda, and there it's going to be that now the buck's not going to be able to be used from below to take out the defender utility. I mean, right, his job has been done, but not quite yet, being that you still have the mute jammers up, and IQ now is going to have to come in as an alternative operator to Buck, which is not the very best thing. That, it's going to be a little less effective than just being able to take out the floorboards, but man, I mean, IQ is pretty accurate altogether, though. It's just wasting more and more time for the attackers that you don't want to be doing. But PK, he'll be grabbing a shot off on, I believe that's Super?
I'm just saying Super.
Super? Yeah, I have no clue how to pronounce that. Well, anyways, that's a Nomad going down for you, and that's huge. That is super. Okay, so that's a Nomad going down for you, and that is absolutely huge, because now you don't have those post-plant cross angles that you're gonna actually have to hold, because those air jabs aren't going to be in play. And now at a 3v5, it's really looking like Fractured Memories are not having the best go of this round.
Yeah, this slow peel back from Dallas Vendetta to focus in on the site as a whole has worked out fantastically, as a third kill came in the way of Fond this time. He was able to pick up Shadows, as swinging wide is Crispy not able to really finish off Vim, who is now going to lose out to Crispy. The only team player without a kill on Dallas Vendetta was somebody, as PK snags his second. I believe it was Jaco was the only one without a kill, as that smoke actually got caught in the barricade. And it seemed like PK was intrigued by it. But a flawless round off the start for Dallas Vendetta. I'm very intrigued because we didn't get to see it as to how Bait was able to get the opening kill with his Bearing 9. Just because that gun is so unwieldy at this point in the game. And it's just, I mean, it looked like a great start for Fractured Memories there, but it just ended up not being enough in the end. And I mean,
attackers need to locate and defuse bombs.
it's what they didn't even go for the weak side, I think, of the push. It just happened that they couldn't even get into the site because I'm just very against study takes, only pure 5-man study main stair takes, just because it's so heavily reliant on getting a kill first, because there's zero positional control that study and main stairs on their own offer you. The defenders can roam out through so many positions still, and they can cut off so much, whereas even if you dedicate one person downstairs or something, or dedicate one person to one of the backside windows or the 90 windows, that attack definitely goes a lot better for Fractured Memories. But as a result of them just kind of 5-manning on in the front side, we see a flawless round go the way of Vendetta. And now we'll have to see how they want to, or rather how Fractured Memories want to opt into taking this trophy statue take that has stymied many teams in the past from what we've seen.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on your point that, it does, the study push does rely a lot on the kill, and I think that Fractured Memories, they have these really good novel ideas, and they have the creativity behind their strategies. It's just that they don't necessarily have the mechanical play and the game knowledge to back it up. That's something that, it comes with a lot of time and a lot of experience that teams really have to go through those growing pains. And right now, it just doesn't look like they're up to that fundamental level of knowledge that they should be, whereas Dallas Vendetta, yeah, they've been playing for a much longer time than Fractured Memories have been, so you could definitely expect a lot more knowledge from them as a whole and a lot better mechanical play, but Shadow's going to be going down, unfortunately. I'm not quite sure where that was coming from, but the IQ being out of play is, once again, very important, being that now you only have a sledge, you do not have a buck anymore to go below, and the enemy, or rather the defender utility, will not, unfortunately, be able to be taken out from below unless you're going to be using an Ash, which, again, wastes utility. It's not really going to get you all too far anyways, so you're going to have to be using your utility extremely sparingly, and you can't really get very far off of that.
Yeah, I'm also going back to that. I'm intrigued where Shadows died because it was from Bait, as Vim is going to pick up Fond over on the blue stairs, pushing up aggressively. That's a huge find for Fractured here as they come into this last 45 seconds, because this is a lot of control that they've gotten now. PK is forced off of that triple wall, which in theory should allow Hawks to get something, as Hawks does find the head of Bait as well. The Maestro falling as air jab goes off thanks to who knows what. Crispy also taken down by Hawks. A good find from the ace, as he won't be able to get through the wall, but it doesn't matter. His team's guns are coming alive. A C4 goes onto the default plant from Jaco, and it's going to deal a good chunk of damage to Super, but the plant comes down regardless from Hawks, as he is in a different position. Waiting patiently is Fenda, knowing exactly where this Mozzie should be coming up from. He will pop up the stairs as he is caught on a weird surface, and he was crouching, and it sends him springing to the sky for Fractured Memories' first round of this one. Definitely a good take, and that is a good part of what I was saying they needed to do on Trophy Statue, is that they needed to split control and split their focus and really work around the map. It's not just on that site, it's in general, really, is how I should be putting that statement. Because you just saw one guy came from the Wolf window, one or two guys came from Astro, one guy came from the bedroom, one was on the Astro window, stuff like that. There's enough split focus to put Dallas Vendetta into awkward positions, which ended up catching a free kill in the way of Fond going down on the Astro stairs, in the way thereafter of Bait being caught out in between sites. So, a good play from Fractured Memories, but now it will be a bit tougher because we have to see them try and employ something similar to that as they attack Dining Kitchen, which relies on a lot of split focus. You need players to hold down downstairs and try and find out away from roamers down there, as well as focusing on a lot of upstairs play with your soft breacher rather, who will be a sledge again from Fenda. He has disregarded the Buck at this point, I believe, who has not been seeing the most play since he lost his frag grenades, which makes me a bit sad, but it's interesting that IQ is similarly seeing a lot of play here from Fractured Memories, as Zofia has not been picked in 3 rounds so far, which is an absolute rarity considering how often we see that operator.
I mean, I think Fracture doesn't necessarily feel the need to be using as much throwable utility. It doesn't look like they're using a lot of smokes. It doesn't look like they're using a lot of flashbangs. So I think at the very least, you know, they feel comfortable without having to use Zofia as a fragger, as a soft breacher. You know, they do have Sledge up on the board, so they have an alternative operator that can be used just the same way as she can, you know, and they don't need to use the Buck, which is, again, another alternative operator that is a little bit closer to what she does. And plus, I mean, other than that, you normally just use Zofia for her gun, so I think it honestly is a good idea for Fractured not to go for Zofia if they're not going to be using her utility all too well. But hey, you know, again, it's their choice up in the end, and IQ, they just see her as a more important operator, and she has been seeing a lot of use too. I mean, she was killed a few different times throughout the round before she could get use, but I think overall she's been putting in work, and she's been giving the attackers a lot of what they want, which is good utility destroying, being able to advance their ability to get across into the objective to open up walls, which is what they want to do, especially against those mute jammers. And what we're going to be seeing coming up is going to be that pulse scanner.
Yep. So with this last minute to go here, it's a very quiet round comparatively to the other two, up until Bait shooting up through the floor will lose half his health, but in the meantime, pick up Fenda. This time, all 3 opening frags have gone the way of Dallas Vendetta, but they have quickly been evened out every time so far. Minus the first round, rather. At least last round they were quickly evened out, so not every time, obviously. But this time they will be, as Crispy and PK both fall. That whole thing was an absolute mess, but Jaco.
Did you see PK got killed through the floor with the IQ scanner?
Ah. The faded counterplay that comes out with that. I was not actually aware of that, so I'm glad you pointed that out. In the meantime, Fond and Jaiko are going to find one. Not sure how Fond found a headshot with the shotgun. I don't know where Bait is going, but he's found the planter, in fact. As Shadows is caught in sight, Fond also finds that one. And the most sideways round possible, filled with everything that I was not expecting. The IQ kill on the pulse through the floor, the whatever Bait just did. He just Stewie 2K smoke criminaled that one as he sprinted through 2 smokes, ending up behind the entirety of Fractured Memories planting team. That was a weird one. That was a weird one.
he definitely did it.
I mean,
yeah, it was a really weird way for Dallas Vendetta to retake that objective, but all in all, I did like how they retook it. It was weird, yeah, but they got their kills, right, and they still won the round, which is something to be very noted. But interestingly enough, I think Buck is more of a strategy play rather than anything else, because you see him only being played when AVG is brought for the defending site. And realistically, I mean, it's pretty common to actually think about it, because if Fractured Memories is going to be going for a study side push, which is, you know, they're setting up the player composition to do just that again. They're going to need somebody to go below, and they're going to need somebody to take out the mute jammers, to take out the utility hiding above in AVG. Well, what better player to do that than somebody who has ability suited for range soft reaching, when Buck, you know, having a very unique ability to do just that is perfect for the job. I just think, honestly, that Zofia would do just the same exact job and have better guns to show for it, but again, it is their choice that they want to do that, and if they want to take a disadvantage on vertical play, having to look up into the ceiling, that's their choice entirely. I mean, we saw that the Bearing 9 took its advantage on round 1 and was able to kill Fenda, but I mean, man, looks like 6-pick, I think. They're not even going to be using the Buck anymore, they're actually going to be using the Sledge, so my entire bit about that is just entirely disregarded, but wow. You still got the IQ up on the board, though, so it's still some form of defender utility that is able to be destroyed at the very least, and you could also be able to spot out more important defender utility, like basically the entire defending team's utility, including the Malusi, the Malusi Banshees, the Mozzie drones, the Wamai discs, just basically everything.
Yeah, it is funny that the Buck didn't end up coming out. And it's interesting, too, that Vim is not using any breaching rounds for this. It's not like you've already seen this one. The most you need are things for the Maestro Bubbles, and I guess the Banshees as well, if you want to handle those from afar. But at the end of the day, it's interesting that he's not down below, at least even assisting in some capacity to breach out even the light, like the little expected positions from these defenders. So the third ace charge from Hawks will come out as a Nitro from Fond misses, but it's Jaco's headshot to take down Super in the meantime. The Nomad once again will go down pretty early. 4 straight opening kills as well for Dallas Vendetta, as the only way to get into sight is this itty-bitty little spot. Jaco will take another head. This time, Fenda's head will be taken off, as Hawks is trying to find some way to get into sight. I swear, if he tries to prone through that hole, he's looking for it. He's looking. He's going. Fond will come swinging out at least and hold a position. Rather, he's not sitting in any spot. PK will be taken down by Vim, but he will be shotgunned out. Crispy also takes down Shadows. And it is looking like another flawless round here for Dallas Vendetta. This full focus on the study side is just not working out, as Fond crawled through the hole. Fond crawled through the goddamn hole in the wall to one blast the Hawks, as another flawless round finds its way onto the scoreboard for Dallas Vendetta. All right.
Man.
That's awful.
That's it. No, you know what's really weird, and something that's kind of interesting to notice, Cherish, is the fact that Fenda, who was previously playing Buck on the first round, we knew that, and the player of Nomad, which was Super, those two were dead in the same exact way. It came down to a 3v5 in the same exact way that the first round had happened, and I think it was just about a flawless round in the first round. I'm not quite sure.
It was flawless.
It was flawless. So yeah, basically the round happened the same exact way that it did the first round. There was no adaptation from Fractured side. You could definitely tell in their stylistic play, not to mention the fact that they didn't really choose to do anything different other than having one single player difference, and that only really left them to a disadvantage because they couldn't get that direct defender utility out of the way very quickly. And it still happened to be that Fenda was killed in the process anyway, so, you know, having a Buck versus having a Sledge didn't even necessarily matter because Sledge was killed either way, but Man, you are so right. This study side push is not working for Fractured. Every single time that Dallas Vendetta goes on it, they seem to get a flawless round, and it's because they're ready for the study side push. I mean, that's what they gear up for the most. And I think having every single minute be a fight for map control isn't the way that Fractured should be playing this. I think they should be playing it methodically. I think they should be taking their time and pacing their way through the map. It'll at least give them a new side of play to their composition, because right now it's just not looking all too good for them. But they're going to be doing a study side push once again, and while the objective is entirely different, you know, it's still going to be the same exact way that they're pulling this out. At the very least, they will be gaining map control, being that the site is at Statuary and Trophy. But roam clear does not need to happen for them, as there is no players roaming on the south side of the map. Good on them, because they'll get easy map control. However, this allows Dallas Vendetta, in the case that they need to rotate on back to the objective, to freely rotate on back to the objective, because there is no players keeping the defenders up on their toes for roam clear. So kind of just keeping that in mind. There isn't going to be any attackers going below, and nobody really to burn out their utility unless you're going to have the IQ and or the Nomad go below.
It's very interesting to me the way the Fractured plays this site specifically compared to the other two, because there was a lot of split focus on this site comparatively, especially to the Aviator game site, which we did point out the last time we saw them when out this site. So I'm interested to see if they can adapt at least next round, regardless of the site that comes out. But already they are full focused in, I believe, on they're 50-50, it looks like. They're between the platform or the landing area and the bedroom, and as a result, Shadows will be the one to pick up the first opening kill for Fractured Memories, this time onto PK. With 9 bodies up in the server, Super will start the plant coming down. The impacts from below actually will not do any damage to Super, but a single point of health. Hawks will find one as Super finds another. At least Super is refragged from behind by Crispy, but both players are down below. It's Bait and Crispy playing together. Bait will be exactly that, but that is all he is. Shadows cleans up him and Crispy for almost a flawless round from Fractured Memories. A very strong attack, thanks to an opening pick found onto PK, and a very fast round after the plant got down. That makes 2 plants and 2 successful attacks so far for the side of Fractured Memories.
And you want to know what's really kind of cool to think about is that this is the second time that Trophy Statuary was played. This is the second time that the attack has won it. And I feel like the way that the attack is going about this, having that very slow, drawn-out push, you know, that comes to a very hasty execute all the way at the end, almost works for the attack, because it seems like Dallas Vendetta expects that Fractured Memories is going to try to go below and try to do the utility burnout, and honestly, it just didn't work, right? Because hopping right on the objective and having that controlled aggression against Dallas Vendetta is kind of catching them off guard. They don't necessarily expect it, and they get punished for it. Now, Fractured doesn't necessarily seem to know that, or didn't seem to catch on it the first time, at the very least, because when they went on to Kitchen Dining afterwards, they didn't seem to have as much success on it, and even on AVG they didn't have any success on it. It seems like there isn't all too much adaptation once again from Fractured Memories to say, okay, this is how we need to push it, this is how this needs to happen, even if we need to switch our strategy, even if we need to do something different that we might not be extremely comfortable with, it's still going to win us the round. It seems like they're being almost a little bit stubborn in the way that they push things and saying, well, we need to stick to the strategy, we need to stick to this, and maybe, just maybe, it will work one time. And again, if you think about that, not the right way to go. It's literally the definition of insanity, and so far it hasn't been working on either of the other 2 sites. So I think that, a lot of changes need to be made on the point of Fractured Memories attacks, especially going into this last round to try to secure the 3-3 split, but a little bit more on their defenses as well. They're going to definitely have to do some adaptation to Dallas Vendetta, because we know, looking at Dallas Vendetta's roster comp and strategy that they pull out, they're going to be making adaptations themselves. But Fenda will be getting the first kill for Fawn with the beautiful SMG-11, and he's going to have a very lowered state of health, which could definitely play into the hands of the defenders, especially now knowing that he'll be the soft breacher of the hour, and him being the soft breacher definitely could spell harm for him because of the nitro cells that could be pulled out because of the pulse being in play.
Yep, but good news still for Fractured Memories. They are able to snag full upstairs control. Now, granted, they do have to stand on top of the minefield, as Dallas Vendetta had 5 nitro cells. So far, 3 have gone off. None have connected for worthwhile damage, as Fenda took maybe 10 extra points of damage there. The last one will go off, and nothing comes out of 4 nitros being set off by Dallas Vendetta. They have no on-site utility outside of Banshees, and they are just playing for gunplay. At the moment, though, Vim will lose out on said gunplay. Crispy taking off the head of the Ash, peeking aggressively through some of these holes, and Bait similarly will take off Super's head. Good news that I believe Hawks is a little afraid of. He's looking out for impact grenades, but it doesn't matter because there are none. However, Fenda has been taken down by Bait. In the meantime, there is a 2-on-4 now for Dallas, or in favor of Dallas Vendetta, as Shadows almost got taken out by Crispy, or rather Bait. He was just looking a little bit above. He was not, though. And so far, with these last 30 seconds to go, Jaika will fall, thankfully, to Shadows. And it will begin the plant execute at this point. Hawks pushing forward through a open hole. Crispy found Shadows in the meantime as PK cleaned up what little bit of health left was remaining on Hawks. And Dallas Vendetta secure a 4-2 half on what has been typically, as of late, a very attacker-favored map in Villa.
It has been. Yeah, that's actually really interesting to know, is the fact that it has been attacker-sided. And I think it is more attacker-sided because there are a lot of, well, rather most of the objectives have a certain edge to them for the attackers. And what I mean by this is, let's say you take kitchen and dining and you take AVG. Well, AVG, there's that square around it, so it's very easy for the attackers to take control of it and essentially bulldoze their way into getting control and pincering the players left in AVG. You look at kitchen and dining, it gives the attackers the edge with vertical play and holding up the crossfire angles. Not only that, if you don't even want to deal with the roaming, then you could honestly just rush pantry and get a plant on the objective and win from that. So there's a lot of different ways that the attackers can go about each site, which is honestly what makes Villa so interesting. Not only that, there's a lot of ways that the defenders can roam and that the defenders can keep the attackers away for as long as humanly possible, whether that be having to eventually die to them or giving up their position and going back to the actual site itself. There's a lot of different ways to kind of gain control or lose it. That's what I'll say. Gain control or lose it. And it does favor the attackers, I think, especially in the current meta, utility burnout, wasting as much time. It honestly does, with the map geography being put in play. But you look at this, though, and you see the scoreline, right? Dallas Vendetta now on their rounds, they're on a 4-2 split themselves, so Fracture going under their defense rounds may not be as favored going up against a structured team such as Dallas. So I guess we're gonna have to look at that for the first round of transition as we move into the 7th.
Yep, I'm interested too to see how Dallas Vendetta will be opting into their attack here on Dining Kitchen. They are one of the only teams too that I've seen that bring a 0 on this map, or in general, really. It's interesting just because a lot of teams really like Nomad on this map. Nomad is very strong on this map, and Zero is just not the flank covering operator for this map.
What?
So
I love Zero.
I like Zero a lot, and I really like him as an operator, but like it's just so you have to have someone dedicatedly on camera at all points, and I feel like that's just too risky to have on such a massive map like Villa, as Hawks barely misses out on a shot. It's interesting too how slow paced Dallas Vendetta is taking this attack, because they haven't taken control of really much. The full upstairs is taken over as Fenda is going to be found. He's been taking the first kill at least, as Shadows finds another. Bait with 2 headshots is, oh my god, it's a flurry of kills. Super and PK also chime in with 1 each, as it is just up to Hawks, and he's taken down by Jaiko. I don't know what happened really, but the round is over in favor of Dallas Vendetta, despite losing the opening pick. Even though it was like an immediate trade, really, they just burst onto a full horizontal attack and ended the round instantaneously.
They did, and that was honestly kind of weird to see, but it was also almost refreshing to see a very almost rush-like strategy and have it work in its entirety. There was a lot of mechanical play going on there for Dallas Vendetta, and I felt as though they knew and that they were confident in their ability to frag out. Otherwise, they wouldn't have even done that, because I feel as though Dallas Vendetta is an extremely structured team, and normally, you know, if you're down 2-4, you wouldn't even do that as a T3 comp team. But knowing that they were up and knowing that they had the mechanical play advantage on Fractured Memories kind of gave them that confidence to go in and say, you know what? Let's just do it. Let's just do it and see how it works. If it doesn't work, we can take it to a completely different objective and try something new. If it does, though, at least we know that this type of play works on Fractured Memories, and knowing that they don't adapt, we might actually have something that works against them in its entirety. And being up now 3 rounds on Fractured Memories, they're getting into the danger zone, because if Dallas Vendetta gets 2 more rounds, that's the series win for them. They don't need to go any farther with this. They can just, you know, keep their win and go along with their day. But Fractured Memories, man, they're going to have to cut their losses, and they're going to have to keep going and try to improve off of their VOD, try to improve off of what they did wrong. But I kind of want to talk a little more about Zero, to be honest with you, because I like the theory of Zero being put into play. I know Nomad is a lot better of an operator, but let's say Nomad starts getting banned out in the situation that Thatcher isn't in play anymore and that Mira isn't in play anymore for the operator bans. We know they've been pretty consistent bans just for the fact that, you know, their utility is extremely powerful, but let's say they get nerfed, and let's say, you know, a really interesting nerf happens to go on, and I don't know, you know, they don't necessarily need to get banned out anymore. Well, then who's the next player that's going to get banned out? I feel like it's going to be Nomad in a lot of instances, because she is a utility operator that teams can afford to lose because there's substitutes for her. And when there's substitutes for her, well, who do you have to go to? Zero! He's a utility operator. I mean, you can also go to Gridlock.
I was going to say, I definitely feel like a lot of teams will opt into Gridlock before they opt into Zero.
I don't know, because you can also take out utility. He has a dual purpose to him. You can also take out utility with his Argus launcher, so it's not like it's just purely intel for the attack. It's that, you know, you can actually act on it and take out, like, let's say Goyo shields if you're going up against them. And it is extremely powerful in Villa, because those Goyo shields being placed on that classical hallway, and especially getting taken down by the Argus launchers, are going to prevent the area denial from coming into fruition for the attack and potentially backfire it on the defense. So just something to think about. It's really food for thought. But man, Fawn, he'll be going down to the C4, coming in hot from Hawks from below, and now that that's capitalized on the player of Zofia, we might not be seeing so much of an easy round for Dallas Vendetta.
Yeah, Crispy also went down to Super. In the meantime, PK at least will take off Shadow's head, and Jaiko finds Hawks as well. So Crispy not finished off, in fact. He will be revived even. We are patiently watching them looking for bait, looking for something that he can find here, as I'm interested to see if bait will be aware of the castle lurking. But bait takes the head clean off of Super in the meantime. The Wamai will go down as, a great shot from Vim takes off Jaiko's head as he almost finds bait. But bait swinging with that faster firing AK-12 will win out the gunfight. It's just up to Fenda. Fenda did choke out PK in the meantime, who was, I believe, the planter. But 2v1, Crispy's very low, bait is less than half. Fenda is full HP and plenty of mags for this SMG-11. He just needs to find the two attacking players covering this bomb. Bait is lurking in an odd spot, but a nice flick shot from Fenda will confirm that one on the higher of the HP members. Higher HP of the two. 15 seconds to go as Fenda's going to start his plants defusal. And 10 seconds remain. This is all but one at this point. Fenda with a nice shot. He actually is going to get this. That's a great shot onto Crispy, what remain of his HP. I think he has just enough time. No.
I was rooting. It was milliseconds. It was
literally
milliseconds.
I hate that it's not a YouTube clean feed because I want to go back and see how many, because it was definitely less than half of a second remaining. That was almost fantastic. I think if Crispy moves any faster there, surprisingly, like any bit faster, that is a one round for Fractured Memories, which that's crazy how close that was.
I feel like Fractured Memories deserve that. I do. I feel like they actually deserve that. They won that.
I wouldn't agree really with that. I think Fenda deserves that. I don't think Fractured Memories as a whole deserve
yeah. Fenda, but I'm just saying, like, for his troubles, Fenda definitely deserved that win.
Yeah, for sure. It just happened that the rest of his team kind of just fell apart and took 1v1s or 1v multiples. So
1vx's, man, they do not. Yeah, they definitely don't win out rounds for sure. But we're gonna be going on and descending to kitchen and dining for Fracture to hopefully complete out their defensive rotation. Unfortunately, they haven't won either trophy statuary or AVG, so they did have the option to go on back to it, but they'll say, hey, you know what, cut our losses and let's just keep on trucking along, and they'll be going down there now. And honestly, looking at their competition, composition, Jesus, they're going to be having 4 C4s up on the board alongside with 2 Intel operators, so C4 Mania is going to be coming out for the defense, and with Valkyrie and with Mozzie on the board, you can definitely tell, you know, without a presence of Pulse, mind you, you can definitely tell there's going to be a lot of live intel, and something that Dallas Vendetta is going to have to individually deal with on their own, in the case that they don't want to be C4'd out, which is definitely what they're going to have to do, because it looks like they're going to be going top floor to do that vertical play.
Yeah, it will be the dining kitchen once again, not even attempting statue here for this defense, because I forgot that I was surprised by the silencer because so few players bring the silencer outside of IQ. Super jumped out. He will be traded out, but not before finding bait, which is a huge find onto the hard breacher. That puts sole hard breaching duties onto PK with his hard breach charge. So I was saying, though, it's surprising to me that there was a suppressor because I forgot. Oh, no one but IQ brings it, except for Zero, who has it mandatory on his pistol. So I was confused by that sound for a split second, but a good trade for Fractured Memories. They lose a Nitro for a lot of utility on the Ace alongside that fantastic rifle in the AK-12. And there's just a big opening here for Fractured Memories to take this round back. Jaiko is similarly on very low HP, as Crispy's going to get to work trying to open up some of these walls. It's a very horizontal focused defense coming out from Vendetta, or a focused attack rather from Dallas Vendetta here, as Jaiko's worming his way down, trying to find what little bit of an angle peek he can, and he will be taken out by Shadows just because he was on such low HP. Venda's also found PK, and this attack is crumbling here for Dallas Vendetta.
Right. I mean, crumbling at the seams is what it seems to be. You got a 4-on-2 scenario. Crispy had a lowered state of health. He's about 75, and Fond definitely has 100, but it looks like, you know, he might be coming into an engagement soon, so it might not be the same exact way in a few seconds here. In about 20 seconds on the board, they have to go and flood into those predictable doorways. You have, unfortunately, Fawn going down. Crispy would pick up one in his death, but get fragged out by Shadow all in the same moment, and defenders are going to run out round 9. And yeah, Shadow from above, that's actually a really nice angle. So good on him.
Yeah, you can kind of see, too, how the defense is supposed to work out. But it just didn't. I mean, the first time, sorry. You can kind of see how it's supposed to work out with a lot of separate angle play and just a bunch of cross angles, but it's it's very interesting that it just crumbled so massively. Because, I don't know, it just kind of feels like that defense is meant to focus on exactly how Dallas Vendetta was pushing. And they were able to beat it the first time. And then they opted into not doing the same exact style that they won with. So, it's interesting. But we're seeing our first Goyo of this game, as we were headed back over to Aviator and Games, as I'm intrigued to see how Fractured Memories want to opt into holding alongside this Goyo. He's tried to set up the same shield twice now, and now this is a third time where he's not sure where he wants to put that one, but it will find its way over into 90. There we go. That's the number. I almost called it triple for whatever reason. There's nothing triple about that. It's not even like, I don't know. I can't even defend it really, but Dallas Vendetta looks like they're going to be trying to push right into that 90 shield as they are focused in right now on this bedroom attack.
And you know what's so unfortunate is that I was talking about the zero play being used on those Goyo shields, and the second that they actually bring Goyo, it's the second that Dallas Vendetta brings Nomad. Isn't that such an unfortunate turn of events? Because they don't even know that they brought Goyo. I don't even think they knew, and even if they did, it doesn't seem like they paid attention to character selection all too much as they opted in for the Nomad anyways. So no 6 picks were going to be drawn there, but man. That's just so unfortunate. So it looks like the utility burnout is definitely going to have to come in play. Frag grenades are most likely going to have to be thrown, and if not, it just seems like the attackers are going to have to be bulldozing their way to get a clear all the way into 90 low-way highway, whatever you want to call it, and control those Goyo shields. But I'm interested in seeing what they're going to elect to do. So you've got Jaiko, he's going to be rappelling up on the 90 hallway now, looking through that window. I believe he actually sledged through it, so now that castle barricade will not be there, but he really quickly, though, goes and rappels up on the roof. So now that, that's been open, it almost makes the defenders uncomfortable without the attacker presence being at stake, which is almost kind of a fear tactic, right? It's almost kind of scaring out the defenders now that they're going to have to go against a lot of attacker utility within the next coming seconds. I believe Goyo, he's starting to back off himself if that's the player sitting in 90. Definitely not sitting behind that shield. He's got Fawn, he'll be taking some damage while he's trying to breach, and man, Shadow's going to be roaming all the way outside, going for a peek, and it is successful. The man who's repelling Jaiko does unfortunately get killed. He is going 7-7 right now, so he's still proving to be a pretty nice use to the team when it comes to frags. So Unfortunately, as it is, his utility as well will be going down, but smoke canisters will be thrown out and executed on the main doorway of AVG, and PK and Bait will be adding on to our kill feed as they'll be picking up 2 for themselves. You got Hawks, he's getting a lot of damage taken for himself as he tries to go on the flank. Unfortunate as it is, he won't really be able to do all too much damage. But man, you got Fenda going down by the hands of Bait. He'll pick up that kill, and already a 2-on-4 scenario. Post-plant scenario will definitely be going down. Comes up to Hawks. He'll get killed out by Fawn, proning by the landing area, and Shadow's the only player remaining up on the board. You got Crispy. He'll get his headshot, and that finishes off the round and the match for a Dallas Vendetta win.
It's very interesting to see that the final 6 rounds in terms of opening frags all went the way of Fractured Memories, and they were only able to win out 2 of those 6, going 2-4 there. So, or 2-4 on those rounds. So it's very scary. It's both ways. It's very scary for Fractured Memories to see that they are unable to play with these leads, and it's also similarly very nice to see from Dallas Vendetta. Dallas Vendetta. For Dallas Vendetta, whatever it is. It's my
Dallas
mind is
Vendetta.
mixing. Dallas Vendetta. It's nice to see for Dallas Vendetta to be able to play from behind so well, that the way that they have been and the way that they were. So I'm interested to see how they will continue on this season. Obviously, they're currently 2-1, I believe. And I think so far we've gotten to spectate them every week so far. Because we watched them versus Ariel, we watched them last week, and we watched them tonight. So I'm looking forward to see how they do, because they're definitely stacking up. We haven't seen them outside of Villa, which I'd like to see. But otherwise, I mean, when they're not playing who should be expected to win out the league in Aerial Rise, they've been handling the competition pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, I believe, Aerial Rise is in this league. I think it's Raven and... Yeah, Aerial Rise got dropped by Toys, what we're hearing from production, but 7-2. Oh my gosh, yeah.
7-2
So
to
Toys is really establishing themselves as a really powerful giant team in this league. And I believe, Dallas is playing Toys this next week. That's going to be a rough game for them to go up against. I feel like Toys, again, I said they established themselves as a really nice team. They have a lot of good fundamental skills and strategies about them. They've got amazing plays and their mechanical ability on point. I just think that going up against other teams in the other conference, I'm not sure if that actually is going to happen, but they'll be going up against entirely new skill registers in the case that it does, if we see something like a playoff scenario. But otherwise, I mean, Toys, they're looking like a pretty good team in this conference specifically. They might have a very good chance to win it out, and especially up against Dallas Vendetta next week. So we're going to have to be looking out for that. But otherwise, this has been us in the 7-3 Dallas Vendetta versus Fractured game for this conference. I hope everybody enjoyed this rewatching this rewatching gameplay. It was quite a fun time, and I don't know, Cherish, do you have any closing comments?
No, I don't think I have anything.
All right, well.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, everybody, thank you guys all for watching, and we will see you next week.
In a position where they can run away with the spotlight.
Yeah, I think part of the issue was the fact that the Zillion just doesn't give as much wave presence as the karma there. And I think if you pivoted towards something like the Lulu, you might have still been able to control the wave, yet also still be able to empower your Hecarim to charge into the back line. Also keep your Samira safe and just having that wild growth for her and provide that extra CC. So I think there was a better option there instead of the Zillion pick. And the you didn't like the Zillion pick. It was okay, but again, Lulu was available.
Yeah, with Lulu up, I mean, obviously they wanted to pick the Zillion. It's like, oh, yeah, we can flex this. This can go mid. Yeah, this is a mid lane pick. They hovered the rel to kind of even put that even more into
Mhm.
their minds.
You can do the
And
same with Lulu though.
no, I totally agree. It's just it's more of a conventional mid lane pick is the Zillion, and especially paired with that Hecarim. I definitely would have liked to see Lulu if they had known it was going bot lane. But I even more would have liked to just see them go Rel with that Samira. It would have given them so much more pressure in that bot lane. And Senna, it's so hard to play that champion in the early game into champions that like Rel, like Thresh, that can really capitalize on her immobility, where she's locked into one place when she's using her auto attacks and her Q.
hmm when she's locked in auto animation, it definitely does offer plenty of opportunity to try and engage onto her. And at the same time, you look kind of how every single lane went, and Wh while the Casio had an alright time, you look at that top lane, the Aatrox pick didn't quite pay out this time around, and for the side of Grandview, they simplified their composition a lot. Instead of the Gangplank, instead of the Nidalee, they just went for two big beefy frontliners that could just run people down, and it made fights very straightforward.
Yeah, it was really nuts. I want to see what kind of stuff they pick this game. Obviously, that Seraphine's going to get banned out. I expect to see a Kaisa ban from Grandview here, and those are really the two super huge like, oh, we're gonna gap them picks, as they're like probably the strongest picks right now in the meta. But there are power picks all around the map. You could pick something like a Pantheon in first rotation, which gives you a lot of flex potential and just a lot of pick potential as well, that I may like to see from one of these teams. And Udyr is going to get banned no matter what. I mean, they're not going to let Colthrow have that pick ever. So you kind of have to ban that. But I want to see them pick something really powerful here. I mean, we saw the Karma get first picked in game 1 from Purdue Northwest. I want to see them do something similar. A nice, like, almost triple flex pick that they lock in first, that kind of throws Grandview for a loop, because that Karma was so unexpected in general from Purdue Northwest. I want to see them do something similar this game.
Yeah, and again, Lulu does play very similarly in that regard, being able to triple flex that pick, top, mid, and support, even into the AD carry if you really want. And we'll see what they end up banning out here for the last ban for Grandview. I expect it to be the Karma, as it does give them a lot of fits. However, Pantheon's still available, and that could be something they take away instead to prevent some of that more early game focused power coming in, as it will be left available. We'll see if Purdue bite.
Yeah, and it may be a bait from Grandview as well. They're like, oh, you got to take Pantheon here. But Purdue Northwest hovering that Aphelios, I'm not so sure about that being the first pick, but you know, here we are. We may be back in patch 10.2, but you know, it is what it is. As Hecarim going to get locked in for Colthrow this time. So not a Hecarim for Purdue Northwest, but a Hecarim for Grandview University this time around.
Yeah, so the Aphelios first pick here is very, very strange, because of the fact that it leaves you to a composition counter, where all of a sudden in Grandview they can decide to play from range or play outside of the Philios operational range, or they just go very hard dive, make sure that a Philios just does not survive. And here in the second round of picks, they have to find some way to protect it, and the Ivern is one way to do it.
Okay, so No You Stink on a complete 180, going from Hecarim 2 games to Ivern this game. And we see a Nico on the flip side, the Lulu being hovered as well. And it looks like this is going to be a protect the president comp, or so to speak, for Purdue Northwest. As the Lulu going to get pivoted into the Anivia.
Okay.
So
The
a nice
Nivea
power pick there.
The Nivea is still incredibly powerful here, being able to it can still be flexed, although it's definitely not very likely to get flexed outside of the mid lane. However, for this Ivern pick, definitely can still be flexed up into that top side. So there are options for this Ivern pick, and technically options for this Anivia, although it will work a lot better in this mid lane, and it really just frustrates the duo of Hecarim and Nico, as it's going to be the Orianna lock-in. So we actually don't know where this Nico pick is going. It could go into that support role, could go into that top lane. I've heard Nico is a great support counter to Rel, and maybe if Purdue end up with a Rel pick here, we see the Nico go bot.
Yeah, and it could be a Nico support, but let's not count out the potential for a Nico 80 carry here, a Nico bot lane. A nice mage pairing could be.
I have been there for 9 years, going on 10 years now. They really help everybody out. Good compensation. I love working for Amazon.
Be very possible for them. It has been I saw a couple of Nico sets in C-Law for the past couple of weeks, so we'll see if they elect to go for that, potentially flex that set top lane or support. But so far this draft looking pretty spicy for Grandview University.
Yeah, and I would be pretty against the set being locked in, mostly because he's going to be pretty much 1v9 the moment he uses his ultimate. He's going to be going straight into an Anivia and an Aphelios, both situations you do not want to find yourself in. And in that same vein, I don't like Aatrox. However, if Aatrox is able to get snowballed, and if he's able to find non-Anivia areas of the map, then it would be okay. But they do pivot over to Camille instead, and I like that much more than the Aatrox.
Yeah, they banned Renekton. Purdue Northwest banned Renekton and left Camille open. Malphite and Ornn also getting banned out on the flip side. That was a easy Camille pick for Grandview University. Any day of the week, they're going to take that one. And now we're going to see potentially what they go in response to that Camille. It's going to be the Shen locked in for Soul Drake this game. Shen is one of those picks that does really well as the game scales out into Camille, but early game really struggles in that top lane, as Latence is hovering Zyra right now. There's no way that's going to happen. Okay, yeah, they're going with the other plant. They're going with the Maokai, the tree, not the thorns.
Well, they end up having double tree here, double tree synergy with the Ivern and the Maokai. So, you've got some big stumps trying to protect your Philios, and it can still be a double flex, although Maokai definitely, I would say, struggles more so into the Camille, and now we are...
What?
That's the Pike.
That's Nico Pike bot lane, Nightstar.
So we could either say Nico Pike, or it could be Orianna Pike.
They're doing this for us. They're doing this for you and me right now.
So what I will say about the Pike pick is the fact that Pike allows you to execute past shielding. And that's what this composition on the side of Purdue has a lot of, which is Ivern Shield and Shen Shield. They don't have ways to regen the Philios HP, though, beyond things like Moonstone. So if he gets low into that kill threshold, execute threshold for Pike, he will die.
Yeah, and shields, like you said, shields don't do anything for Pike execute. You can shield all you want. You can have an Ivern shield plus a Shen shield on top of you, but if you are below that threshold, you are dead, my friend. And it looks like this is going to be a Nico Pike bot lane. And again, Nightstar, we know they're doing this for us. We know this is for the two of us right now, okay? Yeah. Let's level out right now. They're doing Nico Pike just for us, okay? And we need to be happy about it and understand that this is a treat. This is a nice treat for us right now.
Yeah, we just take it, accept it as is, move on from there. But for Grandview, we talked about Purdue compiling this protects the Philios composition, the Anivia. You can also substitute for protect the Anivia composition once it gets to that late game part as well. And for the side of Grandview, it's very much a delete the Anivia or delete the Philios composition, because you have the Camille and Hecarim dive, then you have the ball to follow up, and then you have the Pike ultimate for the execute. So it's very much about making sure that whoever you're trying to protect will not be successful.
Yeah, it is looking to be a spicy one for sure. I mean, you have to think about it like this, right? Platypus is going to be able to throw that Hextech ultimatum down onto the Aphelios, get him nice and alone in that little area. And on top of that, you have so much engage and so much ball delivery for Orianna. You have the Hecarim ultimate. You have that Hextech ultimatum. You have the Nico stealth into a flash. You have Pike's E. Every single one of these champions can be a unit of ball delivery. I mean, it is looking to be a really good one this game. But on the flip side, a really solid draft for Purdue Northwest. You have two very good scaling carries that scale super hard into the game. You have the Aphelios. You have so much shielding from this Moonstone Ivern. You have a nice support that could potentially go for either a burn build or that Imperial Mandate build. So it's a nice balance between these two comps, and I'm really excited for this one.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see how our series will end up, because again, this is essentially a best of one. And I mean, to be honest, I would have still liked to see the Lulu pick come out, but unfortunately we don't get that. And we'll see which will win, the unstoppable sword or the immovable shield, because that's what it's going to come out as it's a very much a sword versus shield theme in this last game.
And here we go. We have loaded onto the Rift. The teams spreading apart, and now the best of one of this best of three begins. We see them spreading out once again. Another 5-point start for both of these compositions. Nightstar, how do you think this early game is going to go?
Yeah, so this early game really just comes down to following where this Ivern is going, because he's going to be able to, of course, clear pretty safely, although he does get low. If Hecarim's able to find the timing to invade and stop this Ivern, that would be great. But more than likely, the Ivern's going to be dictating the early pace of the game, whether it's ganking or just non-stop warding. So that'll be the key thing to watch there. And for GVU, It's making sure this Camille gets to hit her items, because all of a sudden this Camille will be able to delete almost everyone on the side of PNW that isn't going to be babysat by that Ivern.
Yeah, and we see Leighton selecting to go for this Aftershock in this bot lane as opposed to going for that Comet poke build. Works out a little better for them as he's going to be able to trade into them and get that extra survivability should they look for an engage. But Udon beat on taking the cleanse, a little scared, but respecting that Nico route as they're looking like a standard bot lane start here. The Oriana bamboozle from Lobos, but yeah, I'm interested to see how these junglers path in this early game, and where they end up going, because that is going to be the teller of how this game goes. Because whoever really gets a lead in this game really has to run with it, right?
Yeah, I mean, both of these teams, when they find a massive advantage, it will be incredibly oppressive, because all of a sudden, if you're the side of GVU, you just can't kill any targets. Whereas on the flip side, if PNW fall behind and GVU are ahead, that's a nice
the root onto Lobos. Lobos getting dangerously low. The Ignite coming out as well. Lobos going to have to flash to safety as Leighton's and Udon Beaton flexing their muscles here in the bot lane. The flash, comes through, and that is a dead Nico, as now the stun comes through onto Udon Beaton, but he's going to go ahead and get himself to safety. So Leighton's on this Maokai says, you guys want to pick this lane? I'm going to bully you out of it.
Yeah, you guys want to scrap? Well, I'll scrap with you. As Chucky unfortunately doesn't get to try and go for that return kill, as he is sitting on exhaust rather than ignite. Ignite being held by Lobos. As nice little flash
coming through onto Leighton's, and now Colthrow is here. No Use Think is also
in trouble.
Chucky is in trouble, and Leighton's is as well. Leighton's trying to get into safety in that bush. He's going to fall to No Use Think. No Use Think flashing to safety as
I think the sketchy website I bought this turtle from stole all my info. Ooh. Have you looked on the bright side? Discover never holds you responsible for unauthorized purchases on your card. That's my turtle.
Fraud protection. Discover something brighter.
Aficionado.
Sneakerhead.
Sneakerhead.
Obsession has many names. This is ours, the new Lexus IS. All in on the sports sedan. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer.
The road is full of inspiration. It just depends on how you spend it. Whatever inspires you, you gotta grab it and make something.
This has got the steak and the sizzle.
The tots on this are just crispy and they're flavorful.
This will keep you out of my tots.
Sonic Extra Long Ultimate Cheesesteaks. Yeah, this might keep me out of your tots.
Udon Beaton and him running away from Colthrow. The root going to come through as well as Hecarim gets out. And that is a teleport from Koskinen. Toponer did just walk down, so does still have his teleport available to him. But a 1-for-1 all in all.
Yeah, nice little teleport coming in from Koskinen to make sure they're able to get that kill without any repercussions. And now Udon Beaton, he's just trying to get whatever he can in this bot wave, as he will be kind of stuck at tower. And we get to see a little bit of that skirmish potential here coming out from GVU. And I mean, both of these sides will be looking to skirmish quite often. Of course, Platypus, he wants that 1v1.
Yeah, Platypus and Solendrick going toe-to-toe. And here comes Colthrow, and that is a dead Solendrick. Despite having Flash available, I mean, at that point, Hecarim's bearing down on you. You might as well just take the death.
Yep. Accepts the L there. And, I mean, Platypus also doesn't get greedy and look for a play himself to try and get that kill for himself with his own Flash. So, he's going to be able to hold on to that spell cooldown for the next gank attempt up in that top side. And I really think for the side of GVU now, you've clearly established how you're going to play out this early game, and that is just hard slam top lane. Solendric, he did have issues in game number 2 and just being able to manage his waves and being able to just lane against Platypus. And I mean, even in all 3 games, the laning was the issue. Afterwards, that wasn't a problem for Solendric.
Right. And even in game 1, he got a couple of solo kills onto that GP, but this game, they're going to put a lot of pressure on this Shen because, I mean, obviously the Shen is a huge proponent of keeping that Aphelios alive, and if Shen doesn't have pressure, it's hard for him to be able to ult across the map. As Lobos and Layton's going toe-to-toe here. Nothing going to come of that. Chucky just threatening with his Q.
Oh, he is able to
pull.
pull.
Is so strange, man. It's I know they did this for us, but was it really for us or was it for them?
I mean, I definitely think that they're trying to win the game, Marxist, but you know, that might just be me. However, kill score even. GVU though with a 500 gold lead, I expect most of that is going to be into the hands of that Hecarim, who has a 2-kill advantage, and also into the hands of this Camille, who does have a decent CS advantage over this Shen. And I mean, Shen, the wave is in a spot where he's just set up to get ganked again. So yeah. I expect the Hecarim just run straight top after that red buff.
Yeah, it looks like Platypus is going to try and get a freeze off. He just pulled the wave, so that's going to be a nice freeze for him in the top lane. And Solendric is going to need some help to break this freeze, because right now Platypus has so much pressure on him, does have that Sheen completed, able to get a lot of trade damage back into him, and he's trying desperately to break this freeze. Here is No Use Think to try and help him out, as now
Me too.
Kolko is here, and here comes the TP from Toponer, and now Colthrow is chasing down No Use Think. Does he have the shield available? He does. There is the Stand United as Colthrow trying to get back to safety. The wall going to
gone.
Getting out, as now Colthrow trying to get out. He does get the smite onto the Gromp, but the taunt is going to land. Colthrow is going to finally go down to Solendric here in this top lane, and a really good TP and a nice wall from Toponer there.
Yeah, a great turn coming in from PNW, being able to hold themselves there. Koskinen.
Ooh. Koskinen able to flash himself out to safety. Layton's nice roam from him to get the summoner spell out.
Yeah, Koskinen running into issues there. Doesn't have the cleanse as well. So if these engages do land, this Orianna will be in trouble. And that kind of goes for everyone else on their roster too. So whoever does get jumped on, they're going to need to be in pretty much perfect position for their team to help them out. Otherwise, the follow-up could be insane. Now, this Iron pick still holding up very well. Has that Lucidity boots, also has the Bengal Glass mirror, so everything lines up for this Ivern to really hit mid-game running.
Yeah, the Ivern going to try and get himself a nice little Moonstone to help his team out, and that's going to be really beneficial as this game scales in. And the sooner he gets that, the better, obviously. It's going to so much healing for his team, and it keeps that Anivia and that Aphelios alive. And now here comes an engage onto the bot lane as Layton's is looking for something, but here comes the TP behind them. They don't see Koskinen. Koskinen is coming in. The ultimate going to come through from Nico, but that is going to be that as he flashes back out to safety. Layton's now no flash available, does have pretty much no mana, as Lobos is now disguised as this Orianna. Colthrow coming through, but the root going to land onto Lobos, as now Layton's may have bit off a bit more than he could chew. Clicking on that Ivern root brings him into range to die there. So maybe a misclick by him to get himself in that position. Just pretty unlucky.
Yeah, a little bit unfortunate there for that Maokai, but for the side of GVU, they get to cash in onto a pick, and that's going to allow them to go over for this dragon. Being able to secure that first dragon for themselves is going to feel nice, especially the extra little bit of resistances. And I mean, Platypus, he just keeps on freezing. He's finally going to unlock the wave, but honestly, it's mostly because of the fact that he probably has a decent amount of money to go back and purchase with. Just get a nice little reset and crash the wave back up.
For sure.
Yeah.
But that's
they're
almost
able to
a
collapse.
40 CS deficit top lane. I mean,
They're running straight top.
Platypus gonna hook shot himself right on out of there. And there goes that, I guess. As Camille is a very fun, interactive, and balanced champion.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah,
we talk about 200 years with Aphelios, but we don't talk about 200 years with Camille. But we should. I think we should.
Yeah, that's definitely a conversation to be had, right? Where Camille just feels a little bit unfair if you're able to play the champion. And right now, it's a lot of people can really play the champion. And we'll have to see how Platypus does when it comes to these team fights, because of course the biggest fault of Camille is just jumping in when you have such a large 1v1 advantage and think that I can just start the team fight, it'll be fine, and then you get instantly bursted.
Yeah, and now Toponer is lingering here in this bot lane. Doesn't look like anything's going to come of that though, as he backs off back to the mid lane. But Ivern now lingering here in the bot lane as well. Chucky really wants to hook that Aphelios. I can see it in his eyes. He really wants to hook him bad. He's going stealth, coming out of stealth. He's looking for sure. I mean, he is.
He's got his eyes on the prize.
Yeah,
however,
you can see it. You can see it for sure.
Yeah. However, it is a little bit difficult, and if Ivern is around, it becomes incredibly difficult to get him into that execution range. However, I mean, Chucky is kind of just stuck in this lane because you're not necessarily looking for a play up into that mid lane. The Nivea can just wait for the wave to walk into her and then just press R and clear it out, no problem. And if you want to try and make a play top side, it does involve a recall.
Now Platypus looking for some trade damage onto Sol and Drick. And Toponer taking some big trades there in the mid lane. But I want to ask, where do you think this game's going to go here in the mid lane? Do you think they're going to keep playing around Platypus? Do you think they're going to keep playing around bot lane? Where do you think it's going to go?
Yeah, I think for GVU, it comes down to making sure that this Camille just continues to power forward here. She should have the Triforce on her next back, as Koskinen is going to find.
Little lungs in a great big world. With me, Tony Hawk. Hey, little lungs, who smoked as a teen and never grew to normal size. You ready to follow my grind?
Heck yeah, Hawk!
My little lungs
are starting to bail!
Smoking as a teen can stunt your lungs, keeping them little forever.
Oh, tough break, little lungs.
In a great big world.
We use technology to make art that looks impossible.
And you're building something that you couldn't visualize before.
But then you start to ask all these questions, like, how do I make this thing come to life? And that's where the magic is.
In our work, we try to make the invisible worlds visible.
We are Yes, Yes, No, and we turn technology into magic.
A nice little bunch of friends here. A big party in this mid lane.
Yeah, nice. The Rift Herald not even going to get a charge off. That's just a dead Rift. As No Use Think going to get himself a blue buff. That is also going to go over to Toponer. But I want to talk a little bit about this itemization for the Camille, going for this Triforce build instead of the Divine Sunder, despite being matched by a tank for most of this game.
Yeah, there's definitely something you can advocate for, that Divine Sunder here being in a bruiser matchup up top or a tankier matchup up top side. However, the attack speed is just so nice, and being able to push towers as well. The Sunder not quite there when it comes to just beating down on these towers. Definitely more geared towards taking the 1v1 trade. But when you have Triforce and then you get that Ravenous Hydra, you just obliterate waves.
Yeah, you do. And we touched a little bit on how Camille is a completely bonkers champion. The little voice in my head just mentioned to me that Camille was the fastest champion to 1,000 bans after release in professional play. If that doesn't speak to how unbalanced the champion is and how crazy her kit is, I think that, yeah, literally 3 months she got to that point. I mean, it's absurd. She's a really interactive champion for sure. Solendrake getting some trade damage back onto her though, and we get Dragon spawned. I want to see these teams pressure around it. I want to see a skirmish. I want to see some action happen here in this game, as it's kind of been just farm simulator for the past like 3-4 minutes.
Yeah, and also remember that the previous iteration when she did get banned out was the fact that she had AoE CC onto minions as Platypus.
Ooh, Platypus getting dangerously low, and now the Hextech Ultimatum coming out as well. Going to have to flash back out, as now they look to turn onto this dragon. Chucky looking onto Layton's, the hook going to land, but here comes the shielding, and that is a Moonstone Ivern, who's going to be providing a lot of healing and shielding should they go for a skirmish here. And now they're looking onto the Drake. Colthrow starting it up. Chucky going around the other side. Lobos getting hit by the sapling, but that is going to be a dragon secured for GVU. Pretty much uncontested as well.
And, well, we're getting a third Cloud Soul.
Did we get Cloud Soul all 3 games?
I believe we got Cloud Soul for all 3 games. That's a little bit unfortunate. However, at least we have Hecarim, who can at least use the Soul well. And even in that previous game, we had Rammus and Hecarim. So there's, you know, at least a lot of speed champions.
Oh, here comes the engage onto Lobos. Going to get the stun out, but here comes the teleports as now Toponer has joined the fight.
Everyone's here.
Is here as well. There is the Orianna Shockwave going to land, and now Colthrow going to get a kill for himself as well. Koskinen getting dangerously low, but is not going to be enough, as now a triple kill over to Koskinen off of this TP. A massive play for GVU.
Yeah, and Solendrake wasn't able to get his ultimate down as he tried to use it. Did get CC'd by Platypus, and a great little cancellation from Platypus, as now he's going to be able to shove this wave in, claim that tower as well, in a huge, massive win all across the map. Grand view, enjoying the view right now, as they are now out to a 4,000 gold advantage.
Yeah, and this early into the game, that's exactly where you want to be. I mean, this is not a team that doesn't scale, right? I mean, you have the Camille, who has a nice late game insurance. You have the Hecarim, who now has that Triforce completed, does scale really, really well. And now you have a 3-0 Orianna with that Luden's Echo or Luden's Tempest, whatever it's called now, completed. But yeah, that is crazy. Guys, P&W stocks are currently dipping. Hold them. This game is not over. Hold them. Do not sell yet. Hold the stocks.
Yeah. There's definitely plenty of comeback potential here. It's just going to be incredibly rough to get out of this patch, as of course the Nivea and Aphelios here are in their trough period. Not great at one item.
There goes the top tower as well. Platypus securing a nice little chunk of change in his pocket as well. And now a shutdown on the 0-0-1 Camille is up with a 70 CS lead up in that top lane.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 0-0-1 Camille. However, just the fact that you're so far ahead in CS and also just being able to claim so much. Not sure how many turret plates were claimed up topside, but imagine it was at least 2. I would hope, I think.
It was at least 2. Yeah, I would go with that number. I'm good with that number. At least 2.
Yeah, it's pretty specific, you know.
Yeah, I think that's good. I'm good with that number for sure.
Yeah, and now in 100 seconds, we're going to have another dragon. This would be GVU's 3rd dragon for PNW. They'd love to contest this one here because of the fact that it would put GVU onto Soul Point. And again, if they do get Cloud Soul, Camille and Hecarim are incredibly frustrating to deal with at that point in the game. In addition to Lobo's just being able to chase you down with that ultimate. So things do get quite a bit scarier, and the 20% ability haste as well is going to be fearsome.
Yeah, having a Nico ult on a shorter cooldown is already scary in and of itself. But coupling that with a Hecarim multi and a Hextech ultimatum, that's a lot. You have so much AoE on this composition in general, and the fact that you have so much ability haste on these ultimates, if you secure these dragons, that just, it spells doom for the enemy team.
Yeah, there's plenty of zoom potential and also plenty of doom potential here for this GVU composition. And I mean, double Triforce completed even in the side lanes. If you get spotted out, the pick power is insane as well, as now that is Dragon about to touch down from the Rift here. We'll see if they decide to opt for this fight. Lobo's holding this mid wave here, but it does mean
Be a little almost bit caught out there. Latents is going to be looking for an engage here. They may be a little too late, though. Here comes... Oh, the steal almost comes through as Colthro secures the dragon. And meanwhile, a double shockwave. Now Platypus onto the backline. Udon Beaton getting taken dangerously low. And Chucky popping off on the pike. And now that's a double kill going over to Platypus. But here comes Colthro onto the remaining members of PNW, and that is a dead Maokai. Solendrick may be the last one to fall here, as Pike is looking for the hook, but Chucky not going to be able to find it. Colthro says, I'm finishing this, but Kostina says, I'm beating you to it, flashes for it, and that is an ace for GVU.
And a very, very clean fight coming in for GVU. They get a clean 5-4-0 and a dragon. And this composition from PNW is just falling apart as the seams, because again, if the side of GVU, they get too far ahead, there's not enough shielding or protection for any of these carries against the overwhelming amounts of damage on the side of GVU at this moment. And that's kind of where we're just at. As we see 2 items, it's pretty much a full item lead on everyone across the board.
Yeah, and you got yourselves an 11k gold lead here at this point of the game. You're 23 minutes in with 11k gold up. You said there's a lot of zoom potential, there's a lot of doom potential, and now there's a lot of mental boom potential.
Oh yeah.
You're down so much gold so early into this game. It's going to be so hard to come back. But, you know, if anyone can do it, PNW could do it. We saw it in game 1. They came back from a relatively large deficit and were able to secure a win for themselves. So don't count them out quite yet.
We have been able to create a great network that's not only faster, but broader as well.
We're deploying at an unprecedented scale.
We have the networks. We have the spectrum. We have the people. We have the technology.
We're setting the pace.
I have been there for 9 years, going on 10 years now. They really help everybody out. Good compensation. I love working for Amazon.
Sell those stocks quite yet, guys. Hold them on. Hold on. Chucky is looking for some hooks here, and going to go stealth, but not going to be able to find anybody. Chucky has been cheeky on this spike, so to speak, for pretty much this entire game, just kind of walking back and forth, looking for an opportunity to hook anybody.
Yeah, you haven't quite seen the impact as far as the stat line goes, but when it comes to the play style, the fact that there's always a pike sitting around is very
and here comes the
problematic.
shockwave going to come through the root as well onto him, and now the distance is going to slow down that Ivern, but now Leighton's onto Chucky here. Not going to be able to find much, as now that blue buff is going to be secured, but Leighton's grabbing it for himself instead of Toponer. Oh no, Leighton's, that is not where you want to be, buddy. And now he's going to get rooted up. Chucky, in the meantime, going to put some damage down. Leighton's getting dangerously low. There's the ignite. There's the pike.
Welcome back, everybody, to UPL Valorant here at Upsurge, and we got a fun match today. We're about halfway through the regular season here in spring of 2021. Now, Anu and Bethany College Swedes, they're going to have to put another win on the board. Taking you through that match, it's going to be myself, Possible, alongside Beatdown Boulevard.
We got quite the match ahead of us tonight. I'm just going to say that one, Paul. Again, Bethany Esports versus Anu. Both fairly new teams, if I remember, although I think Bethany is the one that formed up very recently, and they're definitely still working out some kinks after what was a heartbreaking loss, to say the least, against GCU in past weeks, and definitely not off to the greatest of starts here this season.
Yeah, they're currently sitting at 0-2. They really need to start picking up some wins if they want to try and get into the playoffs. Yeah, today. Because keep in mind, only the top 4 teams from each group actually make that playoff bracket. So you need to be at least 4th place. So you need to have at least 1 win. Still got plenty of time. 3 more matches. Just need 1 or 2 wins to at least get to playoffs. But that's looking less and less likely. And last week, like you said, they struggled pretty hard against GCU. It was 13-0 on Ascent and then 13-2 on Haven. Definitely not the showing Bethany we're hoping for. This is a much newer team, and you can tell that by the way they play. They've got some standout players. I really like how Crude and Pixel were playing at the very least. But the coordination definitely needs some time to gel.
Definitely kinks to work out. Usual problems when you're creating a new roster. You put a bunch of good players together, and lo and behold, Valorant is a team game. You don't really get to play the way Jet specifically wants to, and you just go in by yourself. You can't really carry games like that. Trust me, I've tried. And so we're just going to see now if Bethany have improved in this short amount of time. And most interestingly enough, we both noted it once we got word of who picked what map. But Bethany picked Ascent, the map that they got dumpstered on last week.
And to an extent, I understand, because it was very clear that Pixel had some very nice lineups with Sova arrows, and Crude was relatively comfortable. But the overall ability to stop GCU from pretty much doing whatever they wanted didn't quite seem to mesh. And that's going to be map 2, right? We're going to start off on Split, which is a news map pick, right? So things start rough, maybe get a little bit less rough here for Bethany, but it's hard to not favor Anu in this matchup, Beat.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think there's definitely going to be a test here for Bethany. Like you said, 1 or 2 wins are going to be the necessity if they want a chance at making playoffs. Even if they fall on the night, there is a chance for them to make it in. But, I mean, winning today would be super nice. Against the new, though, it is going to be tough. They're going to have to surprise all of us if that's actually going to be the case here. And I'm curious to see how they're going to play it out on the first map, because I believe they didn't play Split last week. So, maybe they have some of their own ideas of how they want to play this map. Maybe some of that coordination does finally come out there.
And Anu, well, the actual core of the roster has been together a little bit. At least Laxi, Nidaz, and Tyler, I believe, have been playing together since at the very latest December of last year. So they've had some time to gel, right? This is also still a pretty fresh team, right? We don't have pretty much any footage from what I could tell on what Anu actually likes to do when we get into a map. So definitely a hard game to prepare for as well.
Yeah, and I think it goes both ways as well, because Bethany being new too means that there aren't going to be as much footage for them, so they at least have that going for them too. Not a whole lot of information on how they like to play, and especially if there happen some new developments, it is less likely that they're going to be sniffed out unless it's done on the fly. And at that point, I mean, they get read on the fly like that, it was just not meant to be. But we'll see. Don't want to cast or curse anything. Don't want to try and write anything off before we actually get there. I've been trying to think of a new term for cast or curse, just because everyone says it. I want to be different, maybe commentator hex. How do we feel? I was
thinking hex. I was thinking what word also starts with an H that we could use to describe ourselves.
Oh, I don't know about that. Yeah, that's the tough one.
That's the hard part, right? You want to get that alliteration in there.
Oh, dude, it sounds so good. Yeah, I guess that's why Cast or Curse is tried and true. It's It's just too easy.
It does roll off the tongue pretty well here. And
It does.
going back to the match, unless
Hollerer's
I'm
Hex.
raving about whatever. Collar's Hex?
No, Hollerers, and
Hollerer's Hex? That does not work at all, B.
I feel like it works a
reaching for
tiny
that.
bit. I am
You're
reaching. Would you like
dude, you're reaching.
Yeah, I'm reaching
Well,
for the
and you know, right now we're just reaching to get all the players in the lobby. We're still waiting on a couple stragglers from a new, I do believe, you know.
Yeah.
Teams
Gamers.
and being late to lobby. Name a more iconic duo. I can't personally.
Yeah, that's just esports right now, before, forever. You know, any point on the x-axis that is time, just late for lobbies, especially in North America. Oh my God, Paul, you remember even way back in Overwatch, just teams trying to get in lobby, trying to start on time, whether it was scrims, whether it was games. I've seen a ton in Call of Duty. It's just the worst. Although COD kids, Paul, COD kids are different.
I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
You don't.
Let's keep talking about Valorant.
All I'm going to say is a shower's involved.
Okay, I still don't want to know. We're not going to bind, so no showers here in this match.
True.
Instead, we are starting off on Split, right? And it's worth noting that is a new map pick. They ban Icebox, but pick Split. So in terms of their influence on the actual pick and ban, they just go from one extreme to the other, right? They don't want what a lot of teams consider to be the least favored map in Valorant of Icebox, but then they take, you know, the step brother of it, which is Split. Another very unpopular map in terms of Valorant. Now, Split has seen those changes that came out, a few weeks ago.
The thing.
It is certainly not as defender-sided as it used to be, but I haven't seen Split soar in popularity since then either.
I think because the changes are still relatively new. In my opinion, I really do like those changes a lot. It makes things like walking through B Garage a lot easier. The fact that you have that wider entryway, options for cover, so that it's actually contestable for you to walk through. The fact that they made some of those changes peaking mid again, because this isn't the first time they've actually changed that area. I think it actually makes it really nice. At least personally, playing it out feels a lot better. It feels easier to peek through mid and not just have to peek through a really tight choke and just get your head blown off immediately, because there's literally only one pixel where your head could pop out of, and it sucked. But I think it's better now. I think in time, players are going to enjoy the map a lot more, and it's really just going to be Icebox where everybody hates.
And A Heaven too, right? I mean, once upon a time, A Heaven was not unbreachable, but certainly very, 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 very difficult to actually get in. That massive doorway, not only is it easier to walk through, but it's harder for a defender to sit on like kind of the rafters side toward that window and take cover there and juggle between site and ramps. You really have to commit one way or the other. And if you have a good split onto the A site as an attacking team, you can really... Oh, I didn't even mean to do that. But regardless, if you have like a good 3-2 split, moving, through lobby and then up towards ramps, you can really pinch someone who's trying to get too spicy in window.
And that's the thing. So, again, I think it's just going to be a time thing. I think gamers in general, very stubborn. It takes a long time for them to change their opinions on things, especially when things have been changed for the better. And people just can't get it out of their mind like,
I still
Split bad.
I still haven't changed my opinion on the classic. Nerf it more, please. The right click.
Wait, that's different. That is a correct. That is a correct opinion, though. That needs to be like demolished. I think the fact that when you jump and right click and that your bullets don't go in like 3 radically different directions is just unacceptable, in my opinion. The fact that you can still like
your bullets
hop right click.
I've said it for a while.
Like this.
When you hop and right click, the bullets should just come backwards and hit you instead. I've said it for a while.
Yeah,
I think that's how the right click.
I think that's better.
I think that's better. You're jumping with it. Hopefully, I think we've been hearing that we're gonna head onto the map here soon, folks. On to Split, our first map of the night. First chance for Bethany to really come back in and still play for a spot in the playoffs in just a couple of weeks. They've already had some rough losses. The GCU one, but also one to YFP. So admittedly, 2 of the stronger teams in this group, right? YFP, since Phoenix One are having some technical difficulties. YFP is currently what I would consider probably the strongest team in the Vandal group, right? So definitely not abhorrent losses. They're not dropping to, bottom scraper teams or anything, but now that they're coming up against a new team we don't really have a ton of expectations for, we really need to see Bethany College Swedes come out swinging.
This is really going to be the sort of a test here for Bethany, again, to see how they've improved themselves in recent history, or just not even history, just the past couple of weeks. Haven't been playing together very long. Of course, like you said, Anu are still relatively new too, but they've just based off of their performance, if you look at how they've been doing so far in this group, they've been doing a little bit better. So you got to imagine that they are the well-coordinated team, and especially losing to GCU of all teams in this group, the way the way Bethany did, it's not a good look going into this series. It definitely doesn't feel good. But here we go. We're gonna load on to Split here, and it does look like defense first will be Bethany.
And it seems like there's actually been quite a few role swaps for Bethany since we saw them last week against GCU. Klong on the Sage, Jax on the Killjoy now, and Pixel over to the Omen. That might just be because it's Split and you don't really play Silver too much on Split, but I'm going to be keeping an eye out on that.
Houston Wall mid is a little premature, we'll say, as all the information coming through that the attack side is going to be a Big Easy. He's going to land some pretty easy shots for first blood here. But besides that, that is going to be A side control given out. Big Easy will die to the paint shell. That's going to be an easy plant.
4 versus 4 all in all. Very early Leo there for Crude, and unable to catch anything with it. Gives away his position in heaven, and now there's not many tools to actually get back on the site. Pixel is holding on to 2 smokes, so you can smoke off lobby. That should make things a bit easier, but it's got to happen sooner rather than later. And with him getting smoked off himself, he's just got to charge into elbow. He's going to get met by Laxi as well. Jax now all alone in heaven, and drop from back. Eccentric with 4 kills in that very first round, and Anu off to a blazing start.
Classic OP, what can I say, Paul? But jokes aside, I think the real issue there kind of starts with Big Easy getting a little greedy, trying to take that heaven peak. I think in that instance, when they get on the site, you usually just let them plant and try to play for post-plant retake. The thing is, Big Easy gets a kill, and that's huge for them, right? But the problem ends up being he peeks out of heaven, gets met with 2 different crosshairs, and immediately falls, kind of nullifying the utility he could have offered and the fact that they had a numbers advantage. And it just makes retaking impossible. And I felt a lot of urgency from Bethany too. And we'll see if Jax.
At least Jax will get 1 there. That's not the worst case scenario for Bethany by any stretch of the imagination. They've got a wall here too, so they can very easily carry their way over for these rotates. And Laxi's actually sort of stuck out here in mid. The site still goes over to Anu though, and now they can set up in their post plants. Still far superior firepower. Just be careful though.
You might be able to hop on the wall there, and this is a little tough. Everybody's pushed themselves into garage, which I find interesting, playing off Tyler's smoke. But I know, looks like Lassie can get over the wall. We definitely weren't expecting that one, and that just makes for an easy pushback onto the site here. So we're actually going to grab themselves the second round.
And I like that positioning from Anu as well. They all posture up in B main rather, and then they have Tyler actually crouching behind that box, going for the high flash there that allows you to swing very quickly, and it's a strong spot to actually put that flash. So I like that little micro position. You can tell Anu are very practiced on this map. The reason why they picked it.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think not watching Heaven there, letting him go over the wall, a little rough here. Tony in the new round. Ooh, fortunately gonna get his head taken right off by Big Easy. An aggressive play with the Bucky isn't going to play out here. Now with the spike still being down, not actually grasped for New. I think they're starting to realize A might not be the play here, but the defense are a little bit unsure. They're expecting a rotation, but you can see Crude is just walking back and forth here.
Practice watching this smoke. If Big Easy swings it out, he's gonna get more than he bargained for. Slow Orb forces Anu back though. While they do pick up that 1 onto Klong, this is not necessarily enough for them to work with. That will be though. Point blank rocket straight to the face. On to B side, Anu go.
And it's just going to be that easy. They get the plant. It is a 3 versus 3. Crude is taking his time, though. He doesn't want to rush this one. They know they shouldn't be able to stop that plan, but at least they're going to have control over Heaven. And because Anu haven't actually made their way onto the site,
30
and it's
seconds
only
left.
come down just now here, as they get an opportunity. Oh, going in for a teleport.
Already caught though and flashed as well. Pixel, the last one available, not even gonna be able to take that cracked. That is a bonus round 1. Weapons recovered. Anu off to a great start.
So 3 in a row. Economy is just booming. And if you're Bethany, you were looking at a light buy, bare minimum, and a full save at worst. It looks like the former is going to be what they opt towards here, as you can see. We are seeing some stingers and buckies. I have my own thoughts on the stinger and when it comes to balance. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're going to see how Bethany play out this next defense here. It feels like Bethany aren't very good at the slow game here. New, even though they lost one, took their time in these backgrounds and managed to get so much value. And this time around, Tony is going to get one, but he gets traded.
Tony gets a little bit more value out of that ramp push, but the fact of the matter is it's still pretty difficult. Nice shots there from Big Easy, but not enough to actually get the kill. And I mean, this is an eco round, done and dusted for Bethany now. It's just, can they actually put a dent into the sizable economy Anu are building for themselves?
One enemy remaining.
I thought so until Long went down. Yeah. Now I'm less convinced. You know, sheriff in hand, Jax could get a flick. Fortunately, it was a flick to the chest. So Anu will win and lose very little in the process here. They're going to have to rebuy their armor. So, hey, there's that, right?
But, I mean, Tony, look, I really like how Anu is playing, though, right? Like, take a look at how Tony is the one racking up far more deaths than anybody else. It's not because Tony is just bad. I mean, is doing the jet thing, dashing forward, taking 1-for-1s, but gives a lot of space and information to Anu. And Eccentric, Cracked, and Tyler are doing such a good job of trading those out and making that valuable. Tony is often dying for more than worthwhile reasons.
All right, you hear that, guys? Your jet is flaming. Or if you're flaming your jet in ranks for having many deaths, it's because you're not following up correctly. And that's only like 30% of Joe. That's only 30% kidding. The point is the follow-up is very crucial, and Tony's been playing his role very well. He's going to pick up one along with his teammate, and Bethany are a little hurt right now. Klong doesn't realize nobody's watching Garage as he's going to get shot from the side. Don't do it, brother. Aww.
Anu just have complete dominion over this game right now. I mean, they're winning 1-for-1 trades. They're taking aggressive peeks like that. That was running, dude. I thought, didn't they nerf that?
Wasn't that a counter strafe? I feel like I want to slow mo on that. Dude, I'm telling you right now, counter strafe, unironically, if you land the first shot and then you keep moving, it just looks like you're running. It's just so silly.
It does, yeah. You're not wrong there. But regardless, Anu are running away with the game. Hey!
Hey! True.
Got him.
They are. Got him.
This is gonna be devastating too. If they can bait Bethany forward here, the Rolling Thunder.
I feel like they don't even have to.
Sewer, that might catch 3 players here, B.
Yeah, the range is already
there
good.
It goes. Oh, and you don't even need vision to take out Pixel. The Rolling Thunder doesn't end up being as punishing as it could have been. Big Easy, a little bit early on the rocket there too. So.
Oh.
Grenade, but ultimately it's still not very easy for Big Easy. Gets a second in the round ultimately, and you know, if this was 2 rounds ago, I'd be like, yeah, damage under the economy, good stuff. But when you've won 5 in a row, you've won them as convincingly as Anu has. I mean, they're living off old money at this point.
That's right. Anu are the Rothless Childs of Valorant at the moment here, as their money is just so good right now. Klong is probably dead here.
One enemy remaining.
Eccentric. Oh, Eccentric. Took the time to line that up. That's toxic. Jax getting a kill is nice, but at this point, getting short of an ace would not be able to actually hurt Anu's economy, and that's not even what's going to come out here. We're looking at 6-0 right now on what used to be thought of as a defender-sided map. And like, look, man, you all heard me preach these changes that definitely make the map closer towards that 50-50, but no, Anu are just dumpstering.
I mean, look at Eccentric, right? I'm not that. I don't like to pull out KDs, right?
Do it.
But when it's 15-0-3, it's hard to not look at it, right? He's got the showstopper available yet again.
That's actually insane.
Bomb buddy out.
Had it just a couple of rounds ago too, and now looks like they are making another play behind. And Eccentrics, he just wins those. Doesn't even have to worry about the turret behind him anymore. Even though Crude gets one long. Oh, he needed that first shot to
Last
land.
player standing.
A little bit late on the trigger there for Kong, and I mean, Crude does have the Empress.
That's just true.
Going for him. Both Lears available as well.
Spike
It's just hard. It's just hard to sell this as Crude can actually turn this around. Does hear the Jet is actually piecing out. Unfortunately, doesn't just try to surprise Tony. Instead, goes for the Lear and tries to swing that. Tony was underneath the Lear, past it, so it didn't blind him, and that's an easy kill for Tony to pick up. And I mean, was 1-4, now 6-5. You can tell it's not just Jet inting dash forwards at this time. Tony is more than capable in his own right.
Yeah, I think that interaction there inflicted a little psychic damage to Crude. Not gonna lie, that one is something you hate to see. You gotta imagine the mental boom is starting to sit in just a little bit. 7-0.
Get
The
out
fact that Eccentric hasn't died is definitely weighing on you here, and we're just gonna bring out the Blazestorm for Tony as well. And he's just ever the aggressive one, as he, like you said, Paul, is continuing to buy so much space for his squad. As he has just been. Oh my God, where'd his head go?
I don't think we want to know. I don't think we want to see that head or Jax's any longer. We're gonna need to get a family member in to identify the body at this point. Able to pick up one at least, but the Cyber Cage times out at just the wrong time, and one is all Big Easy will get.
Yep, and in very colorful glitch pop fashion, Anu are going to claim their 8th round in a row, and I'm starting to get flashbacks, excuse me, from the GCU series here. And I think, you know what, I think this is the point where even if you're Bethany, well, you start talking about map 2 rather.
Map 2? I mean,
map 2.
I don't know if you're at that point yet, right? You've got some good ultimates on the board. You've got Lockdown as well as the Resurrection here. It is admittedly an eco round, so you're probably not playing for that too heavily, but if you can stack up, if you can find a pick, then things start to become winnable. Unfortunately, Klong's going to lose out to the mid, and there's nobody there to trade him out. Crude's good for at least one. Gonna bait the reload around too. No, Eccentric's better. Knows better than that, I should say. Doesn't go for the swing. Instead, another point blank rocket, dude. Crude is the same flat on the ground that Jax was a few rounds ago. And Pixel's undoubtedly hurt here. The moment he swings this, have to imagine. Eccentric is actually pretty low. They're just gonna
Oh, come on, bro.
Crude, man.
Wait, the nerf left. Spike planted.
One Big Easy is gonna run, but oh my God, the pre-fire from Tyler is actually as clean can be. We get yet another round in favor of Anu, getting closer and closer to the 12-0 half here on offense on split, and we finally get. Here's a bright side. Bethany no longer on the save. Did manage to get a buy here. As you can see, rifles and full armor coming through. The ults you mentioned are also in play, Paul. Things like the Showstopper, the Lockdown, Resurrection, and I want to see how they try and play towards these. You're going to probably see Bethany wall off mid again, like Klong has been doing most of the time here. I want to see him. I want to see him try to maybe res Crude. Goes for a bit of a cheeky play, maybe.
And that's another showstopper that was sort of just chucked through a smoke. That's the second one that Big Easy has had, where you're not able to guarantee value out of it. Crude at least makes a 1-for-1 trade happen over on the B site, but that just means that New are going to lean toward A, now, especially now that they know where Crude is. They're walking into a lot of Killjoy utility here. A well-timed Nanoswarm could make it expensive, but it doesn't seem like it's going to go off nearly early enough. And with Crack TPing into elbow, courtesy of the From the Shadows, he's going to be able to play it without too much difficulty. Oh, look at Vents too. Tony's there in Vents. I believe has an Odin available right now. Big Easy nearly getting that done. Oh no! In the air, couldn't take the shot. And now Crude is all alone.
Oh, okay. He does get one. I was really worried he gets two.
That one. You deserve to die there. Hopping around with Odin.
Yeah.
Remaining.
Oh,
okay. This round's suddenly winnable. All you need's an ace to make it happen. The Empress available. If Crew wants to
He
pop
doesn't
it, but at
know.
this point, he's gonna go for the Lear. Go on to sight. Have to
One more Lear.
No!
No!
A little bit shallow. Laxi predicts it and denies the ace. Denies the first round for Bethany College.
And that's got to be the best round that you've had all game long haul. But look at the kill scores here. That 4 spree from Crude means he is in first place with 6 kills. Think about that. We're in round 11. New across the board, just doing so much better here. Off is finally coming into play for Tyler. Because why not at this point?
I've got a depressing stat for you.
Oh, hit me with
Eccentric
it.
has 3 more kills than all of Bethany combined.
Yeah, that's impressive. You were right.
Still a couple of rounds to put on the board here, potentially for Bethany. That Empress is going to be popped pretty early, but Klong's going to lose his head sooner than that. Still the Empress on the site, flushed out by the grenade and forced to swing, traded because of that paint shell anyway, so
Last player standing.
not going to be able to subdue the kingdom today. And now Pixel is all alone.
Spike planted.
Okay, he's picking up a gun and he's actually going around to B main. Knows at this point it's 10-0. There's no point in saving, it seems. But he's going to get hunted down too. Here come Anu on the hunt. He's heard. He gets 2. And suddenly, once again, a winnable round. No flash available. Operator holding B main here. The first shot's the one that matters. And it connects. Tyler puts him down.
Once again, Bethany so
round before the
close to
switch.
eking out a round. Unfortunately, still aren't able to do so. I think I don't think Tyler fired an entire shot the whole round. So I think that's what makes that hurt the most for me. Pixel's thinking, he might have a chance here. It's a mano-a-mano gun duel coming out. Nope. They have an op. You probably didn't even know.
Double op, actually, on the attack right now. Tyler's saving one from
cool.
last round, and Tony's going to pick one up, too. Does have the Blade Storm, so it's not super risky for Tony to go for an op in this last round. So if Tony finds himself in a close quarters scenario, can do just that. Jump on top of him and right-click him to death there. Knows that there's an Omen hiding backside, so you can walk up to him. Will go down, but it's traded out ultimately, and still a 4v3 in favor of Anu.
And once again, a plant
Spike planted.
retake required here for Bethany. Question is, will they be able to do so after the answer to that question? So often. Here's through. Solid kill onto Eccentric. We do have even numbers.
Right there.
I like the Tyler is just waiting with the flash. Laxi, unfortunately, does have the op as well. They are going to start looking for the lockdown. They are going to be able to take it down.
Ooh.
Oh, wait.
Dude, actually not tagged by that op. A rare miss coming out from Anu. Or actually, maybe he was tagged to a wall or so. Unfortunately, his life's not going to last very long. Klong even getting one. Even if they got 2 here, there's just not enough time. And it's 12-0 on the attack for Anu Esports.
Yeah, nah, Paul, I got a question.
Switching sides. Match
Did
point.
we start talking about next game if you're Bethany? Is now the time?
Nah, flawless attacking half, I believe.
Right
Listen,
there.
man, just because it happens in silver gold ranks doesn't mean it's gonna happen here.
It happens in
right
silver
there.
gold rank.
Right there.
And so, are you kidding me? I've gone.
My teammates that.
It's rare, but 1, I never played Valorant by myself, and 2, yeah, we were down 0-12, and we won 13 in a row. It's happened one time. I'll never forget it.
See, there was a match where I was up. I think it was 12-1.
Oh no! Don't say
then
it.
Then it went to 12-11, and we finally won.
That.
But it was as close as it could have been.
That win wouldn't even feel good.
It didn't. It felt very dreadful, and I imagine Anu not going to be feeling that way at all. They're probably feeling phenomenal thus far. Nice aftershock there through the wall too. That's a great little spot. Unfortunately, Laxi not in a great spot. Clobbered on the
one-way
site.
though.
It wasn't really a one-way though, was it?
Oh wait, no.
Underneath it.
Yeah. Now that you mentioned it.
Still a favorable scenario for Anu, and that paint shell is going to flush Jax out into the open. Tyler will cover and take advantage. Klong all alone and not even going to be able to take one down. 4 stay alive, 13 rounds on the board, and a dominant map pick here for a new esports.
That is just that easy as a new 13-0 their map choice against Bethany. And unfortunately, that coordination we wanted to see just hasn't shown itself to us yet, Paul. As man, that was hard to watch.
Not for new fans. They must be feeling great right now, dude.
Oh, they're cackling.
And, this is the first time we've seen a new on stream, and despite the fact that it's hard to sell this as a huge challenge for them, I think they legitimately had some things you can walk away with. And if you're a new esports fan, think of this team as potentially a go-getter, especially in this group, right? I mean, I love the way Tyler was playing the breach, the positioning there, the usage of utility was phenomenal. Even against better teams, a lot of those would have worked out. Obviously, Eccentric just had an insane game, and Tony was creating a lot of space for this team. So I think this is a very well-rounded team, one that seems pretty coordinated at that.
It feels like nobody is kind of lagging behind. It seems like everything's done with a purpose. And I just want to echo the sentiment about how good those flash timings are. The fact that more often than not, they're timed with smokes and dashes coming from Tony as well. So not only do you buy space with that aggressive jet play, you also sometimes get a pick, because immediately by the time your gun is out, they're still flashed on the enemy team, because flashes are very well balanced, very well timed abilities in Valorant. Smile.
Yeah, we still got at least one more map in Valorant for the night here, folks. We head to Ascent, the map pick of Bethany College Swedes, after a quick break.